Yeah, we're getting ready to go to. We were going to the beach this weekend to Gulf Shores for my wife's. We were getting ready to go to the beach because of the fact that, for my wife's work, they're doing like all the hairdressers. We were all going to go as couples, and we got to cancel that now because the storm's coming. I'm not leaving, but
yeah.
All right, so we are live. So welcome to the NCF Recruitment Pod / Top 25 release. And I'm going to start with the 25. Or by the way, I'm Frank. I coach LSU. This is Jeff. He's Auburn's coach. We're rivals, but we also love each other. Jeff, do you want to say hi to the? I don't know how many people are watching. Maybe 3, 2, nobody. Who cares?
Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. We're excited to take over and try to make sure it's a little bit more spiced up than we're expecting between me and Frank, but we're going to try to take it over, provide some fun and good commentary, and let people know what we think. I do want to put a disclaimer up. We do rank the teams what we thought who did the best and the worst, and me and Frank have not compared notes at all. So,
no, we have not.
And it's completely subjective to what we think. So don't take offense if we might rag on a team for what we think, but I rated my teams based on how I thought you did at auction, not who's on your team now or anything. My rankings are purely based on how I thought the auction came out. So I wanted to put that out there beforehand, that it's judging how I thought you spent your dollars. So.
And that's what I also did. I didn't look at anybody's team before or after the fact. But I got notes and stuff. We didn't compare any of the notes. I got my team I thought did the best and the team I thought did the worst, from each division. So we'll go over that. But to start, since we're already 2 minutes in, we're going to start with the teams ranked 25th through 21st in the preseason poll. So I can start with 25 and I'll let you do the two at 23, tie for 23. So at 25, from the Big Ten East, we have a guy that we don't really get along, or I don't really get along with that well, is Coach Lewis from Ohio State. So the Ohio State Buckeyes are the 25th ranked team going into the season. Which isn't horrible, but he was bitching enough, so apparently somebody put him in there. You want to go ahead with the say it again?
So look, we'll see how Vandy ended up placing for expressing his opinions.
Oh yeah, huh? You want to go with the two that are tied at 23?
Sure. We've got number 24 and 23. We've got Maryland and Michigan State tied there at that position based on the polling.
Yep. And I mean, I've looked at some of the teams, and I know some of the teams. Like we'll get down there later into the guys that have been here for a while. I don't really know. I mean, that's 3 Big Ten East teams all back to back, though. That's just wild to me. That's what I thought about when I saw it.
Yeah, it seems like they're clumped together in there nicely, but.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no spoilers or anything, but I believe, if I'm gonna be honest, that's the only 3 Big East teams that we have ranked anyway, and it's 22 tied for 23 and 25th. 20 coming in at 22 this year in the preseason poll is going to be from the N16, and it is Coach John and the Buffalo Bills. That's not the Bills. The Buffalo. What are they? The Bison.
Bisons. Buffalo Bisons.
So yeah, he comes in at 22. He's our first N16 team ranked.
Then next we have. Oh, I forgot. I did also not recognize from Michigan State and Maryland, Coach Kyle and Coach Allen. I want to give them props for their teams and congratulations on the ranking. Coming in at number 21 from Big 12 North is Coach Brian from Iowa State.
So there is your 25 through 21. You have Ohio State at 25, Michigan State and Maryland tied for 23, and then Buffalo and Iowa State at 22 and 21 respectively. So that is the first set of rankings revealed. We're supposed to have a guess. It's supposed to be Rhett from Georgia Tech. I don't know where he's at. I will send him a message and tell him to hurry up and get in here.
Isn't he your cousin?
He is my cousin, yes.
Who beat me by 0.01 points.
Oh, I wrote it down. We were going to talk about it. 0.01. Yes.
0.01. That shows you how important every lineup matters. You can lose by 0.01.
Yes. We we have 5 people watching, so I don't know who the 5 are. Say something hi in the chat. Say hi, Let's see. So we're going to start with the ACC Atlantic. Oh, look, here it is. Let's add him to the stream. Oh, hey, Rhett.
Hey, what's going on? Cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We're getting ready to start now. So, in the ACC Atlantic, we're going to start with Rhett. I don't know if you your opposite division, if you know anything about him, but me and Jeff went through and picked the worst and the best teams. I'm going to start with my worst, okay. Jeff, from the Atlantic, and I think it was Clemson because the only people that he got were Travis Etienne and Lawrence, and I wasn't a fan of Etienne anyway beforehand because it's PPR,
Yeah.
And I didn't think he was going to do that good, but now that he's injured, it's definitely. I mean, I don't know what Clemson was thinking, but that's what they spent all their money on.
I'm going to have to agree with you because I put worst Clemson. God, how could you be such a homer all the way around? And Etienne is hurt, and you blew all of your budget on the 2 Clemson players.
I didn't even realize that. I didn't even click. Didn't even click that the Clemson guy took the 2 Clemson guys.
He needed a quarterback. His quarterback depth is struggling right now, and that's why I was a little confused. People had him highly ranked, I think, because of his running backs on his roster. But in this league, you got to have a good quarterback, and you got to really have a second quarterback to really survive week after week.
Oh, you definitely have to. There's no doubt about it. I went one year where my only quarterback for 2 years was Andrew Luck, and it was the year that one year he got hurt and missed like 6 games, and then he decided to retire the year after. So,
hey, I can't believe I winged it last year. I had Kyler last year, and Mitchell Trubisky, who got benched like week 2, so I was screwed. And I'd picked up Jalen Hurts for $0 and had him sit on my red shirt, and I ended up he got named starter week 11 or 12, something like that, right before playoffs. And I was like, thank God that I've got somebody. I pulled him to start in the bye week for Kyler. It was week 11, and it's really nauseating because you won't win games in this if you don't have a backup and at least a solid backup. And you can see how that drives pricing in some ways, especially when it's a QB needy conference. If someone's gobbled them all up, I know someone posted about TCU gobbling up quarterbacks and having all of them, but he's not going to have any worries in that regard this season.
Yeah, but look at what you and me did in the SEC West. Neither of us needed quarterbacks, and we pushed those prices so high.
That's right. I did take one. I did, but that's because I don't trust Hurts to be a long-term answer for the next couple of years. I got to deal with it. But
I had Deshaun Watson for 4 years, but I didn't get to be really good until I got Kyler Murray. So I had the option of switching between them in different weeks based on their matchup, which really helped me out throughout the year. So
did that help you beat Jeff by 0.1 in the championship?
No, it did not.
It was Chris Carson and a freaking stat correction is what it was.
Oh, the most brutal loss I think that has ever happened in the NCFF.
It is. I don't know if it'll ever be lived down to come down that close, but it was fun.
It was a conference division rival brethren versus actual family, and I just didn't. I wanted both of y'all to lose, to be honest with you.
And Auburn and Georgia Tech are actually long-term rivals. They don't play as much anymore, but the Rec Tech is a huge tradition at Auburn to play, and they had a deep tradition back when Georgia Tech was part of the SEC, a long history together. So it was pretty cool for those who like college football history. It's definitely a neat thing to talk about. Auburn actually greased the tracks at the railroad when they actually took trains to the games. And Georgia Tech went 4 miles down the road into Opelika, and they had to walk all the way to the stadium to play their game back in 1913 or something like that.
Oh man!
Oh my goodness.
I wish I had done that, but alas.
All right, so we're talking now Now, the team that I think that did best in the Atlantic would have been Florida State because you got Javante and Sermon, and then you got Fields. And I feel like if you don't really need, I mean, Florida State, I feel like it's been pretty good the last couple of years anyway. So to go get both of those guys and the quarterback, in my opinion, Fields is the best quarterback in this class. So I think Florida State had the best on the Atlantic side.
And I'm gonna echo your sentiment there. I had Florida State as my top team as well for it, but I also wanted to give an honorable mention. I kind of put a slash on mine. I actually thought NC State did a really good job in this draft on executing their dollars spent. I know they put a bunch of crap on their roster at the end because they had extra space, but their spending on Najee, Devonta, Bateman was a good execution of dollars, and then filling in just with other things. I thought that was well played.
Trash sometimes wins you the league. I picked up Dak for $1 in the offseason, his rookie year. I mean, Roma was still there, and that was before Roma hurt his back in preseason, before Dak took over. So sometimes, it pays off. So moving to the Coastal Division, which is Red's division.
I'm looking to make
Surprisingly, last year, I did not even win my own division, even though I ended up winning the national championship. Virginia actually won the division and won the conference. They're the one I picked to win the division this year. I actually have them ranked number 1. I also have them ranked number 2 nationally when I was ranking my top 25. They're a dangerous team.
They are.
Yeah, well, Jeff didn't win the division. I won the division last year.
That's true.
Did you?
Yeah, I played Georgia in the championship, remember?
Okay.
That's right.
I was undefeated, though. How did that happen?
Wait, were you undefeated?
Yeah.
I thought I won. Okay, well, I don't know. Maybe it was the year before that. I wanted to. Yeah. Too many ranch waters tonight.
One last note we got to highlight for ACC Atlantic while we're on them is they were the most expensive purchasing of Mac Jones. They spent $25. Wake Forest did. That was the highest price Mac Jones went for across the entire NCFF. Was there?
Wow.
25, huh?
Yep.
I feel like that's a steal.
Yeah.
So we'll start with the best on the Coastal side, but I have 2 teams that I thought did the best, and that would be North Carolina, UNC, and then Pittsburgh. I thought were the 2. When I was looking at them, I couldn't decide between either one, who was the better one. So
notable. I can't believe you didn't say Duke, because I've been calling it out the entire time. I still can't believe Duke got Trevor Lawrence and Najee for essentially $75, which is still surprising to me. He got Trevor Lawrence for less than most running backs, or some of the other running backs that went in that draft. So big props to Duke. They got a steal out of the draft with those 2 guys at $75.
And Duke would have been up there, but because they also got Elijah Moore, but at the same time, UNC got Williams, Bateman, Trey Lance, and Marcus Callaway, and then Pittsburgh got Sermon, Rondell Moore, and Zach Wilson. And I'm not a huge fan of Lawrence, especially in Jacksonville and with Urban Meyer. I honestly think he's the 4th best quarterback in this class after these preseason games.
I'm always impressed with UNC. Every year, never jumps out with nominations or big bids right away. Always sits back, and I'm always like, where is he? What is he doing? And then sure enough, he comes on strong, kind of the middle of the pack, guys, and he gets a bunch of guys for good prices every year, and I'm always very impressed in the way that he handles it. I get too nervous. I'm like, I'm going to jump in. I can't wait that long, but he's very patient, and it kills me every year. I always look at the end. I go, man, look what he pulled in.
I bug Ross in March to start recruiting. So, Jeff, who do you think was the best?
I actually had Duke as well as mine. I thought they had just a straight up solid draft overall. Got great pricing, got good value, and executed well. So that they were my pick for it.
Okay.
Now, you want to know my worst?
Yeah, go ahead.
I picked Virginia. The reason I picked Virginia
Really
is because they left $35 unspent out of their budget. And they kept 2 or 3 scrubs when $35 could have gotten them Nagy, Moore, or Wilson based on the final pricing at the auction. That they could have had one of those players for their remaining recruiting budget on there. And you can't leave the dollars on the table when it comes to some of those really high profile. If you can get Nagy for 35 and have him sitting on your bench or redshirt him, it's a game changer for you long term. And that was just my one. That was my pick as I looked at it is Virginia for worst. No offense.
Well, my worst was Virginia Tech, and it was because of the simple fact that their highest player that they got was Waddle, who I think he's going to be good, but I don't think he's worth $40. And then other than that, he's got Mac Jones and he got Terrence Marshall, but he's just got nothing but fodder after that. Sometimes it's more about the quality of the player rather than the quantity of the players that you pick up.
Right.
Which I'm guilty of it. I mean, I picked up 1-2 guys in auction already and dropped both of them and picked other people up because I didn't have room. You know what I mean? So. Yeah. But yeah, so Rhett, anything else on the ACC? And I don't think we have anybody for the Big 12, or do we? No, we do not. So I mean, if you want to hang out,
a couple of quick interesting facts on the ACC Coastals draft. They paid Virginia Tech paid $0 for Tony, which was at its highest. He went for 19, and then Nico Collins got gotten for $0 by Georgia Tech, which was a nice pickup. So I definitely want to throw props out there for that. And Virginia actually got Kyle Pitts for 14.
He did. That was one that shocked me. I was stuck on Jamar Chase, and I couldn't bid for Pitts. And so I was stuck in a spot, and I'm sitting there going, what are we doing, guys? He's at $14. And sure enough, he went. And I will say, I don't know how the other conferences do it because I've only been in this one. But when it gets to about less than 2 hours, nobody touches. There's no outbidding last minute or anything like that.
Not enough.
So it's so at a certain point, I'm just like, all right, he's going to go for 14. Let me start figuring out what I'm going to do next.
I don't remember who it is, and I apologize if they're watching, but somebody kept complaining every day. It was somebody keeps waiting till 2 minutes are left about bidding, and they're up at it. I don't know what division it was or who it was. Ray, if you want to hang out for the Big 12 talk, you're more than welcome to. I don't think we have anybody. I don't know what you got. I know you got kids and a wife and all that. But
I can hang out for a couple more minutes.
All right, well, we're going to go through teams ranked 20th through 16th in the preseason poll. So to start, tied at 19th from the SEC East, we have he's not really a rival. He's just my bitch. It's Coach Joey, though, from Vandy. He's tied 19th. Oh, my
goodness. Did he complain his way into the top 25?
He did complain his way into the top
goodness.
25. I mean, he's 0-4 against me in 4 years, and he still talks shit like he's got some room to stand on.
This is the year.
This is his year. I got CMC and Eckler back, and this is his year. The SC West also tied for 19th from the SC West. Not me or Jeff, because we're too good for the 19th, tie for 19th. But Coach Ryan from Arkansas, which really shocked me. Because I feel like he's got a really good team.
Arkansas's got a really good team. Yeah.
Besides me and Jeff, I think it's us two in Arkansas for the race of the SEC West.
Yeah,
maybe the SEC.
Georgia's got a good shot.
But I think all the other teams now. The other teams, the SEC East has some good owners. They're very active. Tennessee's owner doesn't really like me because I mess with him a lot, but he'll just have to get over that. Ash from Florida's team's looking up. Missouri's team, Sean's building that team pretty good. So, I mean, they got some teams coming up, but, I mean, it's pretty much, a four-horse race, and 3 of us are going to –
Ole Miss and Alabama, they're in down years this year, in my opinion.
I mean, it's going to be the same thing in our division as it is every year, where if I'm going to win it, I have to beat you and Arkansas.
Yeah.
And if you want to do it, you got to be I think this year might be a year where we beat each other up and one of us goes with 2 or 3 losses. So if you want to go with 18th ranked.
18th ranked, we've got coming in from the Pac-12, South. Coach Kevin, I think it's Kevin that I can read on here, from Air Force. From Air Force.
Yes.
I tell you what, the service academies have had some sneaky good teams.
Oh yeah, Navy's Joe with Navy has always got a good team.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Next, coming out of the ACC Atlantic, it's not you, Rhett. Don't worry. But ranked 17th in the preseason bowl is Coach Toby with Florida State.
That's surprising. I had him. I think I had him around there. But he has a good team. Every year he puts together a good team, and it's usually wins his division. Or if not, he's near the top of it every year. So
he's been
he usually
around
puts
for a
together.
while, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's one of the OGs. Like he's one of the original ones with us.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm almost positive. If not, he's like the very first year right after we started it. I mean, now granted, we started this thing, and me and Ross recruited me somehow from how me and Ross met. I don't remember, but in like 2008, it was just 8 of us. Like, and then Ross took this thing from 8 teams to I think we had 32 for a couple of years, and then it blew up into what it is now.
It's been quite the evolution.
I mean, it's a great league.
It's awesome. I look forward to it more than any of my other leagues every year.
Oh yeah. Other than my home league with like my high school boys that we play in. I mean, and then to round out 20 or 19, tied for 19th through 16th out of the Pac-12 South, we have Coach Trent in Arizona State, which I feel like he's always up there too.
Yeah.
The last couple of years he's been up there.
He's been sitting up there for a while.
Yeah. Also, correction: the 15th team is not correct because Air Force is on there. So I'll start with. I wrote it down who it is, but I'll start 15th when we got to do that next. So starting with the Big 12 North, my worst team. We'll start with the worst team. It's going to be Notre Dame, and I have 2 reasons. It's you and me. Trust me, we didn't check notes. But if we have the same team, we've been in this format for a while. Maybe you need to rethink what you're doing in recruiting. But he took Pitts, and he's got Edney. So, but the reason I chose him is because that's the only 2 real players he got, and he spent $47 on Pitts, which I think is ridiculous that you spent that much money for Pitts. Even if he has a great season, even if he sets like the record for rookie tight ends in NCFF, because it's not PPR, like he's only going to be maybe like he may touch the top 30 overall.
Yeah,
and he's got to set a record for like rookie tight ends. Like
this
I'm
isn't
talking,
PPR. It's not PPR.
He's got 11. I mean, like I feel like he's got to get to 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns to be worth $47 in this kind of. Tight ends just don't score.
Yeah, and people think he's going to do well because Julio's gone now, and he'll be like the number 2 receiver or whatnot. But Julio wasn't the big touchdown target when he was there, so it's not like he's replacing him for touchdowns right now.
They have no running game. Their offensive line's old. Matt Ryan's old. Like I don't know why people think he's just going to come out and blow this up.
And they got multiple receivers, so it's not like he's walking on and he's going to be wide receiver 1 option. Calvin Ridley's going to be number 1 option, and then you got Russell Cage, who's the number 3 wide receiver. I can't think of his name.
It's like Ola might no, it's like Olazay Case or some shit. It's like some long ass name.
Yeah. But it's. I mean, at best, he may be wide receiver 3 option, and that's your top guy that you took out. I wasn't really big on him. I'm not big on tight ends in general in this league. I usually like pull them with a last pick or an extra pick just in case I need somebody. But the points are really going to come from wide receivers and running backs.
Yeah. I mean, I have Andrews, and I think he scored 100 points last year.
Yeah. I
mean, yes, I can start him especially I had to start him last year when I lost the running backs. But like, am I going to start him every week over Claypool or even Callaway for the first couple weeks? No, probably not.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember, but didn't the rules used to be you had to start a tight end, but now you no longer have to?
Yeah, originally it was one. Yeah, it was 1 quarterback no matter what, which it still is. So if you don't have a quarterback, you're automatically going to get 0. And then it was originally 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, and then I think 2 wide receivers or 3 wide receivers / tight ends. maybe.
Mhm.
I think is
They
what the original
definitely
was.
used to hold a little bit more value than they do now, and that's something that some maybe people didn't know or forgot. And plus, it being non-PPR, unless you got a Gronk that's scoring 14 or 15 touchdowns in a season, they're not going to do much for you. A Kelsey would do something, but the problem is with tight ends is they typically don't start really showing out until year 3. I mean, you can read all the research on it and whatnot. Most of them it's year 3 or year 4, and like basically by then they're aged out of NCFF. So unless you redshirted them, you might get 2 years. So there's no guarantee that he's going to come out and rock the world better than anyone else would have.
Now like spending $14 on Pitts, like who was it in the Coastal that did that?
Virginia. Virginia? Yeah, Virginia.
Spending $14, cool. I would have took him for $14.
Oh, of course.
But for 47,
it's expensive.
That's wide receiver 1 money. That's wide receiver 1 money.
That's more than that. I was Chase was at 47 for a while, and I was like, do I bid him up?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, but all right. So we both had.
The highest a wide receiver went. Let me see if I can pull it up. It was Chase for $71. That was the highest that was spent, and the next was under 50 at $47. Was the next?
Yeah, but even the Big 12 North by itself, right, would have been Chase at 40, Devontae Smith at 26. That's the 2 highest wide receivers in that whole division.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got guys, wide receiver Elijah Moore for 19, Terrence Marshall 19, Rondell Moore 20. Like, you could have got 2 of those guys for the price of but, you know, I mean, if that's what –
went from 14 to the North.
You know, but if that's your guy and that's who you want to go get, I understand. But I personally wouldn't have done it. So, Jeff, you want to start with your best from the Big 12 North?
I also had Notre Dame as my worst. I
assume that. That's why I just skipped to your best. And we've talked about it.
But for my best, I actually did a 3-way tie because I thought all 3 of these teams did a fantastic job drafting. They drafted how I would have drafted in their position had the bids been flowing the way they were. And I want to give props to Kansas, Cincinnati, and Army. I thought they all did strong. I gave them all kudos in my book for a good draft overall. This division I thought drafted really well overall, minus the Notre Dame blowing their wad on 2 players. But you know, I also get it. That's what I did this year in this draft. So I didn't look at his team and see what he was building around, but I do think that the Pitts conversation we're having earlier is relevant, but that's why I rated him the worst. But it was hard to pick a best because I thought this whole division did a really good job of evenly spreading funds.
And that's the best part about this is I didn't pick any of the 3 of those.
Who did you pick?
I picked Iowa State. They got Lawrence. They got Marshall. But when I was looking, right, so they got Lawrence for 51, which, I mean, if you need a quarterback, which I didn't even look at his team, but that's fine. I don't mind that. But then you get Terrence Marshall for 19, who could be a stud in Carolina. He got Bateman for 11, which I feel like is a good price. He got Gaskin for 6, which, I mean, Jeff, you and me have talked about Gaskin in upperclassmen, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also got Armand St. Brown for 0. So, I mean, he picked up, you know, some solid players, in my opinion. And look, the 3 that you named, it was very hard to pick the best team in this division. And when I kept looking at them, those 3 all were like up there for me. But at the end, you know, when I looked at Iowa State and the way he broke it down, where he didn't go he got his quarterback and then he took his time with the wide receivers. And I think Marshall, Bateman, and St. Brown aren't horrible choices. If you're going to pick 3 wide receivers out of this class and hopefully 1 hits, right, which is all we're really trying to do, is find the 1 guy that hits every year.
Yep.
Because that's what's going to separate you in this league.
And if you get lucky, you get one of those $0 guys that ends up being even if it's a 2 or 3 year starter at wide receiver 2 can work you wonders, especially if you're ready.
Yeah. He could redshirt St. Brown, and then next year they get rid of Goff. You know, they're going to be garbage, so they get one of the top quarterbacks coming out, and then maybe his last 2 years he's a league winner.
Mm-hmm.
And they got him for $0. So, all right. Well, let's move to the Big 12 South. And Jeff, if you want to start with your worst, we can go there.
First thing that I thought was an interesting note about the Big 12 South is not a single player was spent for over $50 in this. No player went for over $50. That was a note I made about this when I was going through it, and I thought that was an interesting statistic when you look at all the other conferences. I think $49 was the most expensive player.
Wow.
Any player. My worst was purely based on recency bias, but I picked Kansas State because of how much just because they went heavy on ETN, and I just wasn't a fan of their draft overall. I mean, it was just, like I said, a little bit of recency bias there, knowing it's going to kill them year one. And I thought that compared to the rest of the conference, they just weren't as good.
I also picked K-State just because of the fact. I mean, the same thing as Notre Dame. Their two best players they got were Etienne and Pitts.
Mm-hmm.
And in this, and especially with Etienne not giving you anything this year at all, and Liz Frank injuries with running backs seem like almost like a death sentence most of the time. And so maybe, and look, in this league, if you go and miss 100% and don't, you strike out on everything in a recruiting period, it's going to be rough for a couple of years because you are behind the 8 ball automatically.
Yep.
Especially, which I don't even know what Kansas State's teams look like. I can pull it up real quick and see, but I don't know how many people he's going to have next year. How many people Cameron's going to have?
He also spent $10 on Sam Ellinger.
Ooh.
But here's the thing, right? So you spent 33 on ETN.
You got to really like Sam.
You spent 33 on ETN and 25 on Pitts, and your quarterbacks on your team are Darnold, Ellinger, Hurts, Locke, and Mond.
Oh.
Like he's got Darnold. He's got Darnold, I guess, and he's got Hurts. He's got 2 starters, but I mean they're not great starters.
For 0 in the last, he bought him for 15.
I know.
Like I'm not, when you compare it to like the quality of players that were available early, those dollars could have been executed significantly better elsewhere earlier in the day.
I agree 100%. And Cameron's been around for a while, so I mean maybe he was just going after his guys, and he thought he could roll with Darnold and Hurts maybe. But when all the top teams, like we're going to see it when we get into the top 10, all these teams are Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes together, Kyler Murray and Patrick Mahomes together. I have Herbert and Baker, which aren't great, but I mean it's better than Darnold and Hurts in my opinion. I mean, out of the top 10, I probably have the worst set of quarterbacks when you look at the teams.
Yeah.
So
I have Herbert and Murray. Murray puts me in a prime position every week. So
right.
The running quarterbacks in this, like that's why I think Lance and Fields are going to do great in this format.
Yep, I do too.
The running quarterbacks in this format score a lot more points. You can see it. Kyler. Hurts isn't going to be horrible, I guess. Maybe Hurts will give him 230 or something. Maybe like Baker numbers,
Yeah, that's what I was expecting because he's my 2. I'd be happy with that.
Running quarterbacks typically do better anyways in fantasy football, especially in the first couple of years of them playing because they're not getting hit as much, so they run a lot more. It's when they get into the later years, like Cam Newton, where you get beat up so much you become a pocket passer. So
I think it was on I think it was on the Fantasy Footballers, and they were talking about it the other day on their podcast, and they said that quarterbacks in their first 2 or 3 years, if they get 80 or more rushing attempts, they score on average 5.2 or some crazy number more a game than quarterbacks years 1 through 3 who don't run. 5.2 points a game in this league could put you in the playoff picture.
Changer in this league.
Yeah, that could put you in the playoffs easy.
Yeah, Jeff just needed 1 point.
0.1.
Jesus, way to bring that up again. So yeah, I agree with
split banner.
I agree with K-State. I agree that K-State it was the worst. For the best, I actually had a tie, and it was Texas Tech. Just because of which he didn't pick up great rookies. I mean, he's got Lance and Waddle really, and he got Michael Carter. But I think his Gaskin pick is going to be sneaky for him. And Oklahoma State I picked because of they got Chase for $34, which I thought was a nice pick. Mm-hmm. Then they got Zach Wilson, and they got Sermon's probably my top running back in this class for this league. And then they also picked up Darius Slayton, I think, for $0. So,
Oh my goodness.
That was
Slayton.
Yeah, that was
I mean, Slayton's a plug and play guy every week, depending on the
$4.
matchup.
$4. But
$4.
still, that's pocket change.
That's
Oh, yeah.
nothing.
Starting, he's going to produce day one.
Yeah. Who are your
Who's-
best?
I actually will echo your sentiment. I also had Oklahoma State as my top team, but I actually did them just because I thought it was nicely laid out budget wise. Is I gave Oklahoma State and Oklahoma a tie. I liked their spending. They got Fields in the 30s. They got Mack at 18. They got Bateman at 17. They got Marshall at 20. I thought it was a good spending of their budget for basically top 10 players, in my opinion. They got 4 of them within their budget, and that's hard to do. You're lucky if you get 3. And honestly, if you're spending on one of the studs in the top 5, you're lucky to get 2. If we're being honest.
Yeah.
And now I liked how he played his budget, and that's kind of how a lot of my rankings are going to go. That's why I'll never rank anybody who picked 2 studs, even though that's how I usually do my drafts, I will say. But putting bang for your buck for your budget and being able to kind of scoop up those kind of picks, that's quality auctioning. It really is. I wanted to give Oklahoma credit for that.
And the best part about this league is the fact that each division's different. Like, you could never do what he did, and let's be honest, Jeff, never could you do that in the SC West because the other owners aren't going to allow it to.
No, he would be price enforced way up on
every owner in this SC West has been in this league for 4 or 5 years at least, right? And so all of us, every single year, I feel like everybody watches everybody else's picks, and they're like, all right, he got so-and-so. Well, we can't let him get anybody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is true. That happened with me. I got Sermon, and then I had Michael Carter for $20, and he was 2 minutes left. And Texas A&M was like, yeah, not happening. and then he outbid me.
An interesting fact about Big 12 South, though, is both TCU and Baylor had the highest amount spent for Elijah Moore and is it Ronald Moore? No,
Rondo Moore.
Rondo Moore.
Yeah.
Those they both were $37 was the highest that was spent on either player. They both were in this division. $37 was spent on both.
Well, that's how Oklahoma was able to get the top guys at that point.
Yep. But interesting enough, Oklahoma State got Jamar Chase for 34.
I know I wrote it down at 34. I thought that was very low.
That's unbelievable.
That's really good. I mean,
that's really good.
That's my week 1 opponent too.
Hopefully he beat his wife, so you don't have to worry about Jamar this week.
Yeah, I know, right? Beat your pregnant girlfriend, Jamar. You don't play for LSU anymore. I'm not worried about it. I'm sorry. I'm taking that back.
Who is the best team in the Big 12 in y'all's opinion? Team wise. When I was putting together my top 25, there was 2 teams I was trying to decide between. Oklahoma State, I think, it's up there. Oklahoma State could end up winning the whole thing. They also, it's a hit or miss. They could be down.
I'm gonna tell you about this. It's got to be Oklahoma State because he's literally I feel like he's been in the playoffs every season.
I know.
Yeah.
I also sneaky Kansas. I think Kansas has a really good team too, and they could compete.
I agree. I had Kansas at number 9 in my rankings. I think they're gonna be a sneaky good team.
See, I think I put Oklahoma State, which I got to scroll all the way back up because I love this league so much. I was the first one that did it, but I think I had Oklahoma State. Let's see.
I had them. I think number 4.
I had Oklahoma
Kansas
State 4,
5.
and I had Kansas 7th. Yeah. So
see, I thought Oklahoma State was still a little young. I pushed them back in my rankings a little bit, but I had them at 22. But it's hard to pick when there's so many really top heavy teams every year that talk about 86 teams here. So the top, obviously there's going to be the top following the 80-20 rule. There's going to be 20 teams that are going to be solid competitors. So it's almost just completely us talking bullshit when we're trying to decide who the top teams are because we never know.
And there's so many that have similar players when you're talking about the top teams. You're going to see 2 top quarterbacks. You're going to see 2 top running backs. You're going to see at least 2 top wide receivers, and then likely maybe a third or maybe it's a third or a fourth wide receiver on their team.
Yeah, but you don't even really need that though. I made the championship game with Kamara and CMC and Michael Thomas, and that was it. that was it. I had Baker as my quarterback, and those three carried me that whole season.
Yeah.
They just didn't
But
get hurt.
when you only start,
Yeah,
right?
that was the key.
If you're only playing 6 people, and 3 of them are going to be,
Yeah, but that
you know,
year, both Kamara and McCaffrey
that's the year.
that they were 1-2 in fantasy scoring altogether. So
Yeah, and that's the
they-
year Michael Thomas put up like 145
Yeah.
receptions or whatever it was. So,
Yeah, so that's an odd situation because you had the two
Yeah.
top fantasy people
yeah, no doubt.
scores.
All right, so moving on, we're into the top 15 now. So I'll start with the 15th team. Red, you can whenever
All right,
you gotta leave, buddy.
I gotta drop. I gotta go get the kids to bed.
All right.
Tiger
All
Red.
right, good talk and tell.
So going to the top 15, starting with the N16. By the way, we have 7 people watching that. Holy shit.
Hey, we're up. That's good.
I know. I love it. 15th N16 stars, Coach Andrade and the Florida Atlantic.
Hey,
Owls.
Florida Atlantic. I like their team. I like their drafting. I think they're going to surprise people in the N16.
I think they're going to win the N16. I honestly do. I'm
Not
on that
to give
sentiment
away,
with you.
But
I don't know. Well, yeah, not to give anything away, but I believe, yes, that. Yeah. Anyway, you want to go with 14th?
14th, we've got from Big 12 North, Coach Andy, coach of Cincinnati.
He is an OG. I don't know if he's on the rules committee member still.
I don't know if he is or not either. I haven't been on the rules committee. I just play.
I was on the rules committee for the first couple of years, and then I got off the rules committee because like when Brian took over, he wanted everybody to do a certain role, and I was like, yeah, I don't have anything I can like. I'm not computer savvy enough to be doing Excel spreadsheets and shit. So
yeah, that was. I had my kids were young during the early years of this, so I was not as participatory other than drafting and setting lineups. But now that mine are a little bit older, like I've been able to be plugged in and enjoy it a little bit more, and trying to up my participation a little bit. So, did you do Brian's new league?
I did not. No. Did you?
Yeah.
I was going to, but I was like, nah. 13th out of the ACC Coastal, we have Coach Mike and the Duke Blue Devils, which we've talked about Duke extensively, so we're going to touch on it a lot, going through the ACC. But he does have a very solid team.
I think it's solid.
Very solid team. So if you want to start with, or go ahead and tell us who's ranked 12th in the preseason poll.
At the 12th from the SEC East, Coach Zach from Georgia.
We talked about him already, a little bit, which we'll talk about him a little bit more when we get to SEC. But I mean, every year he's up in the top.
He's probably the premier coach in the East, if we're being honest.
Oh yeah, no doubt. As far as record wise, yes. Him in South Carolina, but I don't know if South Carolina's coach has been there the whole time.
Yeah, I think they've changed ownership twice.
Yeah, but Zach's been in the SEC East at the top ever for a while. So, and then to round out 15 through 11 in the N16 Stripes division is Coach Nick in Ohio.
Mm-hmm. Nice slot.
I mean, hey, if he can stay in that area for the season and he can get some solid wins. I don't know what his beginning schedule is, his off, his out of conference schedule. But if he ranks, even if he beats a top 25, 2 top 25 teams in those 5 weeks or whatever, he may have a legit chance here. If he can hold on and win that division, he may be able to get a at-large bid.
Yep.
That N16, those N16 teams aren't guaranteed anything. So
right.
They really got to be able to, to start at 11th with a solid team in that division like that. If you're able to keep going and avoid injuries and win that division, and you have a good chance at making the playoffs.
I hope some of the big dogs beat each other enough to not let them other ones get the at-large bids.
Right. And we'll touch on that when we get to where I'm at in the rankings, because I want to talk about a couple things and about my schedule. So, but let's see. So now we're through 11th, and we are moving on to where are we at now? The Big Ten, right? Big Ten East. I had a tie here for the best 2 teams, and I took Indiana and I took Penn State. And the reason I put an asterisk next to Penn State because, and I'm going to say this, and I feel like because of the pricing and who he got for the pricing, which you could tell me I'm wrong, but just going through all the teams like I did, I feel like Penn State auction-wise had the best auction. Now, he got Fields, and he got Javonte Williams, and he got Bateman, and he got Elijah Moore. And so, but for the prices that they went and for him to get those 4 players like that, I feel like that was one of the best auctions. Especially for
the entire league.
Right. And especially for a team that's up there a little bit.
Penn State is the best. I had an asterisk on mine to say that I thought they had probably the most quality draft and budget in the entire draft.
Yeah, it was him and another team that we'll get to in the next division that I thought had the two best drafts. So
fun fact about the Big Ten East is 2 teams blew 75% of their budget on one player.
I saw that. Nuts. Absolutely nuts. But what you gonna do, you know? But also that was Penn State's only 4 players, and that's the other thing that I really, really liked about it is because he looked, I guess, I don't know if he told himself, hey, these are the 4 guys I want. I'm going to go get them no matter what. And he did it. I mean, 26 for Fields is a steal in my opinion.
It's a steal. That's a steal.
$26. And you're going to get a guy that's probably going to start by week 2. You know, they're not going to play him against the Rams, and they'll play him against those 4 bum teams. Mm-hmm. They got like the Cardinals, the Jets, the Giants, and somebody else, the Raiders, I think, in the next 4 games.
Yep. So
for $26, I mean, to match him, and I believe, I just looked at it, I believe he's got Kyler too. So, I mean, dude, like when you look at his team, like I didn't look at it beforehand, but like he's got Kupp, he's got Godwin, he's got Sutton, he's got Ayuk. So Bateman and Rondale Moore, he's not going to really use this year. You know, he can redshirt both of them.
He should redshirt the hell out of them.
Right. He's got Mixon, and he's got Antonio Gibson, and he's got Chubb. So Williams, he's redshirting. I mean, I'm going to be honest. And I don't believe – is Penn State did they even get ranked in the top 20? They didn't get ranked in the top 25. So I'm going to call this right now. Penn State's going to win the Big Ten, and Penn State's going to make it into the playoffs this year. I'm calling it now.
I will echo that. Even though I didn't look over these are some preliminary ones from me, and like I said, it's hard to weigh all the top ones, and you get some recency bias by looking around. But I had them in my top 25. But I didn't have them that high. But when you really talk it through, they're going to win their division. They might very well win the conference and go out large. They could be undefeated going into the playoffs.
And I'm going to apologize to Joe because I didn't even have him in the top 25. I don't know if I just overlooked him when I was going through everything. But I mean, shit. You look at his team: Gibson and Chubb, 2 studs, right? Kyler's going to be a stud. And then you got Godwin, Kupp, and Ayuk or Sutton he could throw out. I mean,
and Ayuk could easily come on this season.
Oh yeah, even though it's not PPR, he's going to catch touchdowns. I feel like You know what I mean. Especially if Debo's still hurt, which he is. Yep. Debo never sees the field, you know. And Kittle's back, so he's going to take more targets. He's going to take targets, obviously, but he's also going to take defense away.
Yeah.
That attention. So I mean, this is what is this? August 26, 2021. Penn State will be in the playoffs of NCFF this year.
I like that call.
Calling it now.
That's the safe bet.
And I apologize for not ranking you. You should be in the top 10, in my opinion, with that team. And I apologize for not ranking you there. But you can just now prove everybody – put a little extra chip on your shoulder there, Joe.
Who was your worst?
So the worst was Michigan State.
Okay. I like that. For one, they spent the highest amount on Jamar Chase across all divisions was $71.
And they got nobody else.
And no one else.
Yeah, okay. Well, he got another like 14 players, but none of them are going to be worth anything in my opinion.
No, they'll all be on transfer next year.
Yeah, it's all fodder. He's going to throw most of them away next year.
Maybe the only one somehow becomes a.
I was going to say the only sneaky one would be Firemuth or whatever the hell you say his name, and maybe Dami Brown or whatever from Washington.
Yeah,
but he's got a lot of you got McLaurin there, you got Golden there, you got Curtis Samuel. Logan Thomas. I mean, he's shit. Gibson and McKissick. So, I mean, he might be 7th or 8th in the pecking order. He's going to need some people to get hurt for him to show out. You know what I mean? Who was your worst?
I put Ohio State.
Oh, no. Lewis is going to be pissed.
Because they spent $75 on Najee Harris. Like,
yeah, he was
atrocity.
Yeah,
no
and
offense, but
he got Mooney and he got Gage, which I don't mind. You know.
Yeah, I like the Gaskin pick for 4. Gage, great for 3. But I'm thinking from purely the rookie draft standpoint or the rookie auction standpoint for longevity. You're putting all your eggs in one basket, my friend. All those guys are gone in like a year. Gage gone. Gaskin's going to be gone. Mooney's got some longevity. He could be sneaky good. But I just looking at the rest of it, I just gave Ohio State. I just gave him a big thumbs down. Sorry, Ohio State. I'm sorry, Lewis.
What's up? What's up, Brahmi?
What's going on, guys?
How are you? We're finishing up the Big Ten East now, so you can hang out. We're getting to the Pac-12 next anyway, so you can hang out for a little while if you got time.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, it was a toss-up between Michigan State and Ohio State for the worst in this division. Najee's not a horrible pick, but to spend $75 on him, not get any other freshmen that are worth anything.
Yeah,
and he's got a quarterback that's probably gone this year, and you have no idea who's going to be throwing the ball. Yep. They've got 3 wide receivers, and their offensive line is atrocious. Like I heard it today on Sirius XM Fantasy Radio. Jeff Mans was talking about it. Deontay Johnson, the last 10 weeks of the season last year, his lowest target share, he had 12 targets in one game. Everything else was 13 or more because they were throwing him and Juju little screen passes because they didn't trust the run game.
Yeah.
So what if Najee comes out? Yeah, he may break one every now and then, but is he going to be somebody that can give you this year for you to spend $75 on him for, is he going to be able to give you lead to move you?
Veteran players he got. Like, I don't think Najee's – I know they're going to load him up with carries, but is he going to really convert them to serious points for this league? The 3 guys that you spent the other stuff on, they're going to be retired before he might be a big difference maker.
And, he's got Ronald Jones and he's got Sanders. He's going to start McCaffrey no matter what.
I'm not a Sanders. Yeah.
I'm not a Sanders fan either. But, Ronald Jones, he's not going to get into the passing work anymore, And he's still got to fight for Fournette. Mm-hmm. Who takes goal line carries in that backfield?
That's a big question mark.
And Gaskin, they don't know. We've seen him where they've split the carries, 33, 33, 33, and he was the feature back. So who knows what he's going to do? Which, maybe it's not a horrible thing. Maybe he can redshirt Najee. Maybe that's what he's going to do and hope that Najee, takes McCaffrey's place next season.
Yeah, maybe he's just going to ride Gaskin this year, hoping he gets the thing in redshirts, which will be the smartest move. But it just seemed like more of a win now move than it was of building your team foundationally.
And honestly, does he have a win now team? He's got AJ Brown. And that's really it at wide receiver, in my opinion. I have Claypool, but I don't think he's going to be a world beater this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, he's got McCaffrey and A.J. Brown. He's got Herbert, which, Herbert's going to be fine. Herbert's my quarterback too. But, other than that, you could have went and got maybe a Chase. Not Chase, obviously, because he was 71. But you could have went and got, Devontae Smith and Sermon or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, interesting facts about the Big Ten East. They had the lowest paid for Trey Lance at $28. The lowest paid for Terrence Marshall at $10.
Yeah, I get it. It's not PPR. Marshall's playing the slot, but Sam Darnold's going to throw it. Sam Darnold loved Jameson Crowder when he was healthy.
Yeah.
And that's the role that Marshall's going to play, and Rule's going to get him open. It's going to be I get everybody loves DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson this year, which I don't know. Robbie Anderson's not – DJ Moore, I don't even know if he's still eligible. I think he is, isn't he? Yeah, he's still eligible for NCFF. But,
this is last year, I think.
That offense, I think, is going to run through McCaffrey, obviously, and then the second one's going to be Marshall in the slot. I mean, Darnold's not going to throw the ball deep 12 times a game to Anderson, which they didn't really throw deep to Anderson anyway last year, but maybe I don't know. Who knows with that offense? But for $10 with Marshall, I mean, that's a steal in my opinion.
It's a steal. And for Lance, for be going that low, it's cheap for a quarterback.
Oh, yeah. So moving on now to the Big Ten West. You want to start with your best team?
Yeah, my bet. I had a two-way tie. I had Northwestern and Iowa tied for two best. I just thought they both had great, solid drafts. I mean,
I agree.
Iowa got Mac Jones for 12. Like for a potential, if Cam starts this year, that's a 4-year starter for $12.
Yep.
Especially for Richard, that's great. On top of that, he got Elijah Moore, Devonta Smith. He picked up Mark Andrews, who's going to be sneaky good tight end play on situational. I thought it was. I just thought he had a great overall draft there, and Northwestern, they picked up a lot of people, a lot of fodder, but Pitts, Fields, Bateman, and Sermon, all basically for $25 on average. That's killer. That's a great.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great execution of your auction dollars.
I fully agree with both of those. I also have Iowa where they were tied with Penn State. How we were talking about Penn State with the best. In my opinion, Iowa literally in the recruit process got a team to start.
Yeah.
He got Mac Jones, who he can start. He got Devontae Smith and Elijah Moore he can start. He got Marcus Callaway he could start. He got and he got Andrews that he could start. And if Dalvin goes down, he got Madison for $1.
Yeah.
And he got Renfro. Renfro could start. I mean, Renfro's not great, but he's going to put up points, you know. He's the second option, in my opinion, in that passing game besides Waller.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think Iowa did the best. So I agree with you on both of those. My worst was Minnesota. And just because of, again, we've talked about him, every freaking division it feels like. But I never can say his name, but ETN, right? He got ETN, which we did this. You and me did these lists, I think, before the news came out that he was out for the year. So It's not we're not naming him every time because he got hurt, but it's not a PPR league, and James Robinson's going to be the first and second down back. It looked like anyway.
Yeah.
So his value is shot, and I don't remember exactly what Minnesota paid for him.
$40 for a PPR style running back is. They're not all going to be the next Kamara. Let's
they're not all Kamara, CMC. They're not CMC. You know.
And for a number 3 running back to spend $40 when you could have spent $5 or $10 more to get Williams or Najee, you would have been better off on your value to spend a little bit more for there.
Yeah, I agree. And then he got Waddle for was that the highest that Waddle went? Or I think Waddle went for 40, huh? Somewhere else.
Yeah, he was the highest bid across the entire NCFF for Waddle at $38. Cincinnati got him for $14 in the Big 12 North.
And then he also picked up Gaskin, but I feel like he paid a lot for Gaskin. Yeah, he paid $13 for Gaskin.
Yeah.
That's nuts to me. I mean, just not a good way to put your $100 to work, in my opinion, to go after a PPR back like that and spend $40. That's not named McCaffrey, Barkley, He's not the top. He wasn't the top guy coming out of this, and he went to a horrible situation, in my opinion.
Exactly.
So, all right. Well, before we get to Brahmi and his Pac-12, we are on to the top 10 through 6. And we have 2 ties in the top 10 when the rankings came out. So, tied for 9th.
Oh, hey, I forgot to throw out one thing real quick. I do want to give the Big Ten West props for Northwestern for $22 for Justin Fields.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it in the East.
Yeah.
Penn State got him for 26.
Yeah, look at the other conferences. That's crazy.
What do you go for
75 to Fresno State in the N16?
Yeah, and that's 8 teams.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think Fields is going to be the best quarterback out of this class for this league. So,
Oh, yeah.
So tied for 9th in the preseason rankings. The first team is the Big 12 North, out of the Big 12 North, Coach Keith and the Kansas Jayhawks. And then the second team, which Kansas has got a good team, he always has, I feel like he always recruits good too, decent. We talked about it too. Wasn't he? He was your winner in that division, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then 9th out of the Atlantic, we have Coach Tom in Clemson, which we talked about. He may fall off because of the fact of what we talked about in the very beginning, which the only 2 players he got were ETN and Lawrence. And one of those guys.
This year.
And so, and like we talked about, if you miss in this league if Lawrence comes out and isn't – Lawrence has to put up Herbert numbers, in my opinion, to be a success. I mean, Herbert set the standard for these rookie quarterbacks from here on out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Lamar Jackson did it before him, and I feel like Herbert, besides the Russian, but you've had Lamar Jackson. He's got to go with what Lamar Jackson did his rookie year. He's got to do what Murray did his rookie year, and he's going to have to do what Herbert did his rookie year to be successful. And I don't know if you're going to get that from him in Jacksonville. And so for you to miss 100% in this auction, it sets you back automatically for the next 2 or 3 years.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You want to go ahead – or let me do 8th, and then you can do the 2 that tie for 7th. That way I'm not doing all 4 of these. But coming in at 8th in the preseason poll out of the Big Ten West is Coach Jason in Purdue. Purdue was ranked first. He was ranked first in a lot of polls, of the preseason polls, just in his conference and in top 25. So he's got a solid team. He didn't blow up the auction out the water, but he wasn't horrible with it either. I think he did a solid job, and so he comes in at 8th. So you want to go for the 2 teams tied for 6th?
Yeah, I'm trying to get it to pull back up. I'm getting an error on my Slack. We've got you covered Purdue, right?
Yep. Yeah, you just got
to number 7. We've got Coach Jake with Northwestern, which we talked about Northwestern earlier too. That you could start seeing how the compliments on drafting kind of speak to some of these rankings with a lot of
no doubt.
And they're tied
if you recruit good.
Coach Rhett with Georgia Tech.
Yep.
7th.
So they got tied for 6th with those 2, with Northwestern and Georgia Tech. So, all right, Brom, you ready? You here for the action or what, dude? All the talking you do in the Slack chat, you're just sitting here.
I'm letting you guys do your thing. Until we get to the top 5 and of course Pac-12 here.
Top 5? Were you even in the top 5? You're not even in the top 5. What are you talking about?
I have no idea.
So we'll start with the Pac-12 North. My best team, not because he's sitting or he joined us for this, but I thought Oregon State had the best recruitment. He picked up DJ Moore, and he didn't go after a shit ton of rookies. And I want your opinion on your recruitment class after I go through my little spiel here, Brahmi. But I thought that based off of where you've been the last couple of years, always competing, right? And then for you to go, I'm going to go ahead and go for these proven guys this year, which I think you did. I mean, you got DJ Moore and you got James Conner, who, in my opinion, I don't think Chase Edmonds is really going to be that good. Maybe Conner's going to be the goal line back, Now, Murray's going to take some of those goal line carries. Obviously, we know how that goes with the running quarterbacks, but I think Conner's a good pickup. You got Juju, who could be good. You got Gaskins, which we talked about Gaskin almost ad nauseum tonight. You got J-Rob, which now that looks like a money pickup, especially because what you get him for? $2 you got him for. $2 you got J-Rob for. Awesome, in my opinion. And then you got Pitts, which we talked about Pitts, but you spent $60 on Pitts.
Yeah, dude.
I want your honest opinion, because we talked about this before you come on, and I'll reiterate this, and I think Jeff agrees with me. For Pitts to be successful in this league, for it not being PPR, he has to almost put up the greatest rookie season out of a tight end of all time. And you spent 60 of your $100 on him. So I just want to know, what are your thoughts on Pitts, and why? Was it something that you got stuck trying to bid somebody up, or is that the guy that you were going into this year looking for, or what?
Well, a couple of things. I mean, obviously on the Slack channel, I kind of pointed out something that I really wasn't paying attention to, with the not needing to start a tight end. I have, Andrews with 1 year eligibility left, and then Noah Fant on the lineup there, and I'm not really confident in him. And so my thought is I need to get my tight end spot. Pitts is the best in this draft. Let's get him locked in for 4 years, and we'll go from there. And then just that was my thought. I wasn't really thinking. I couldn't remember what I did in the FCS last year. Not really worrying about a tight end. So I'm always thinking to myself, have the positions to always have a starter, kind of a thing. So I did kind of make a mess up there, but there was a bidding war for Pitts, and I was already just committed to getting Pitts. I like the thought process of him in Atlanta with Matt Ryan, because he's had success with tight ends before. So, and if he can put up numbers as a wide receiver, then it works for me.
Yeah, and I feel like this whole time between me and Frank has been to bash anyone who drafted Pitts above like $15. I feel like it's kind of turned into that.
Right.
But I do want to put out there that there is a very good opportunity that Pitts is a mold breaker in the fact that he is a wide receiver playing tight end. So if that translates in the NFL and they use him as a wide receiver in the tight end position, you've got a situational advantage. If the Falcons F it up and play him like a tight end and then occasionally throw him the ball,
it's a $60 loss there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're 3 feet deep in the grave instead of 6 feet, you still get out of there. But
and you got a floor down here, but the floor is going to be dictated by the Falcons, in my opinion, because I do think the talent is there. I hate to hate on Pitts because I've been high on him the whole time, but because of our format, I'm really low on him comparatively to other assets.
Now, I will say, sorry, go ahead, Jay.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say the other 2 people that I didn't even mention that you got were, one, he could fill in right away because I love Pat McAfee. I watch his show every day. When I'm at work, I'll listen to it, and he has Rodgers on. Well, they had Rodgers on the other day, and he was talking up Amari Rodgers. And now he didn't say this, but he said he runs great routes. My opinion, if Cobb, which we know he's going to, at some point in time, Cobb's going to get hurt. Well, who in that offense is going to fill that role?
Yeah.
Well, and you don't even know what the thought process is even with Devontae Adams right now, with what his thinking is, even with Rodgers in general. So, I mean, even if, Rodgers, Amari.
Rodgers comes to the Saints next year. That's what I'm
How much longer do those 2 guys have left in their tanks either?
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like they're geriatric at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I know they're not that old, but they're both getting up there.
And Devontae's had injury issues. He had them last year with the groin or the calf or something, And then the other pick that I really, really like that you did, Brahmi, which I didn't see a lot of people do, which I just may not have looked at it, but picking up Kyle Trask. I think that's very sneaky.
I do too.
I regret not going to get him, and I can't do it now because I don't even think I have a roster spot. But I don't think anybody even picked him up in our division, which he may be a huge pickup for an upperclassman for the SEC West next year.
Yeah,
but
Tom Brady retires in 2 years, you got a starter.
Right. Yeah. The thought process is I was trying to go after a quarterback as well while going after Pitts because I've only got Josh Allen for another year, Lamar Jackson 2 years, and that's if I don't throw Jackson into the transfer portal next year, kind of a thing. I want some cap space or who knows what goes on with Lamar. So I was going after Wilson, and I never went after Lawrence, but I went after what is this San Francisco guy? Was that Trey Lance is the San Francisco quarterback?
Yeah.
So I was going after them, and then it didn't work out because obviously I went crazy on Pitts. So I was like, all right, who can I go after that nobody's going after right now because everyone spent some money and they may not even look at him. Like, when I go after the Florida guy, he's going to be underneath Tom Brady. Who else to learn better from, honestly? So might as well see what happens.
And you can redshirt him this season because you got Jackson and you got Allen.
Right.
And so even if you have to burn his next year because Brady comes back and plays again, I get that he wants to play till he's fucking 80. I don't care.
Yeah.
He's not going to be able to. At some point in time, he's going to take a hit, and it's going to give him a concussion or some something's going to happen. Or he's just going to end up – they're going to win the Super Bowl this year, and he's going to go, yeah, I'm done. 43, 44. I got all the records because he's only like 1,000 or 1,200 yards behind Breeze. He's like 2 touchdowns behind. Like he's going to take over all the passing records that Breeze had. So maybe after this year, he does hang it up, and then Trask is your guy, and then you're set. You know what I mean? It's a sneaky pick. I like it.
I agree. Thank you,
Jeff. Who was your best?
My best, I put Cal. I thought Cal was the best team. I just liked how they structured with Fields, Moore, Sermon for $13. Like
Marshall.
And Marshall. Yeah, it was a great structure to their team building.
And the Stevenson pick doesn't look bad now either because they traded Sony.
That's right. So
and if Damian Harris gets hurt.
I thought it was solid by them. I wanted to also give an honorable mention just because I thought I just looked at the rest of the conference and saw how they put it, and they spent their dollars well. I've talked about kind of dollar averaging for getting top players, and I thought Stanford did a pretty good job by getting Devonta, Waddle, and Mac Jones. They're probably an Alabama fan if they got all of them. But, in terms of using their budget to get top-tier players and to get 3 of them, I think that was well done. And I wanted to highlight that as a good team-building foundation in this league. So
I agree.
Then for worst, sorry, Brian.
Actually. Oh, no. Are we swapped?
We swapped on this one.
No. I skipped – where is it? I skipped Cal. I had Oregon State and Cal. Oh, shit, I gave away my worst. But I skipped – I forgot that when I started talking about Oregon State, I also had Cal marked down as was the best team tied with.
I had a tie, so don't feel bad because it's the whole discussion we've had this whole time about Pitts. That's the only reason why. And we talked about it earlier by putting vets on your team and building for the future. That was the only reason why I kind of made the same correlation there. But the main notes were not about you. They were about Washington because I just did not like how they drafted.
It's the exact same thing I said.
It was like they had like $33 left, and they could have gotten Fields or Javonte Williams for that price.
Look, they got Marshall.
Yeah.
Could have got Sermon. Sermon went for 13.
13. Like I was like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, I mean,
like, did you just quit halfway through the draft and just not do anything?
I agree. I mean,
Calvin Ridley, he's got 1 year left. Like,
yeah, you got him for 17.
That was it. Like what?
But you also picked up Russell Gage, which doesn't make any sense to me. So why, like?
Yeah.
But you never know.
No. I mean, I should have put him as my primary one, but it was one of those things about the Pitts thing. It was a recurring theme in my thing. So I'm sorry, Brahmi, on that. But at least you're not Washington. So
that's good.
Brahmi, I understand now why you went hard at Pitts because you thought you needed to start a tight end. I get it. I have Andrews too. You can't really start him. Like I had to start him last year, but you can't really start him in this league. You know what I mean?
Right.
He doesn't compete enough. Andrews doesn't compete enough with the wide receivers, in my opinion.
Right. I can't remember when I was in FCS last year. I feel like I had Andrews maybe. I don't remember. But I started looking back to see how many times did I freaking start a tight end, and I didn't do it much. I was like, well, missed out on that one really. Not really thinking too well, but it is what it is. The decision's made. I got crap for it on Slack, but whatever.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's not, people are talking. You guys are talking about Pitts being so high paying throughout apparently the night. Whatever. I put up.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
I put up a championship this year. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Hang the banner, baby.
Yeah.
Look, man. Look, I don't even think to be successful in this league. If you make the playoffs, I think that's a successful season for anybody in this league because it is very hard in this league to make the playoffs.
All right, and I don't know who said something.
I made it to the playoffs with 4 tight ends on my roster last year.
Right.
So
And when
I don't
undefeated.
know. I don't know I can't remember who made the comment in the channel or not. Because winning last year, and I didn't build the team. Let's say I took over a team in FAMU and I won it, and then I take over Oregon State here, and I mean, you guys saw who I added into it, but it's still a pretty good lineup before I got to it. But I don't think it was a 500 team last year. So, I make the moves I make. I did what I did on it, and if I can, it's being highly regarded already, the roster. So, a lot of pressure on me to start the right players in hopes that they actually perform. So
I'm gonna tell you right now, it is very highly regarded. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
Right. And I mean,
It is.
and I was seeing everyone's, what their thoughts were on the rankings and stuff like that, and however it gets computed all together in general. And my name's up there on a bunch of them. I think I was even left off of someone's that they posted on there. That I was like, how the hell do you leave my team off of there? That's impossible to leave them off on their 25. But someone did. I don't remember who though. But I saw, and there was.
Look,
I didn't see Oregon State. I was like, who the hell?
Sometimes it happens. We just talked about it. I left Penn State off of mine totally, and I just said I think they're going to win that division in their conference. Now that I looked at their team, so sometimes some guys just overlook certain. I can tell you not everybody overlooked you because you'll find out in a little while. But all right, so moving on.
It's just the pressure now. The pressure of backing up all the chat talk that I was doing. So.
Oh yeah, I agree. Brahmi, I don't know if you got time. If you want to stay, you're more than welcome to stay and talk stars and stripes with us.
I'm good.
You can. We got stars and stripes in the SEC, and then we're doing the top 5, and we're done. So
sounds good. I'll hang around. I'll unmic and I'll re-mic when time to chat.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you don't even have to mute. You can just chime
in
whenever you want.
I don't know if you guys are hearing anything in the background or not, so I wasn't sure if anything's being picked up or
not. No, we're good.
All right, cool.
All right, so let's start with the stars because I'm pretty sure, Jeff, we're going to have the exact same worst team. Oh, we didn't do the South, did we? We got to do the South. My apologies, Pac-12 South.
Have you guys already done the SEC or SEC already? Were they one of your top ones?
We're saving that last. The best for last. The best for last.
My bad. Oh, God, I forgot. Look who I'm freaking talking to here. 2 SEC team. That is my fault.
So, all right. So, Pac-12 South. I skipped them. That's my fault, Pac-12 South.
They're very reasonable, but
now this is a shock because the team that came in 18th ranked in the preseason poll, I picked as the worst team in the Pac-12 South, and that's Air Force. All he got was where's he at? He got Devontae Smith for 32, and then ETN he spent 45 on.
45.
And we've talked about ETN ad nauseum, so we don't even have to go over it anymore. But the fact that he spent 45 on ETN is wild to me. So he's my worst team. So I don't know who you picked for your worst team, Jeff. I would assume Air Force is down there, but
I actually, for my worst team, I picked Arizona. Even though you got them for cheap. So that helped. That was my comment on it. But I just didn't like Arizona's overall team. Personally.
See, I didn't pick Arizona because of the fact that he got Marshall and he got Bateman.
I think he spent so much on them comparatively to like looking across all the other divisions. I thought he kind of overpaid for those guys.
But underpaid for Wilson, right?
He underpaid for Wilson. That is very true.
So he may have a starter for 2 or 3 years,
Very true. And I also wanted to make a special shout out in my notes as worst. But Utah, what the hell is going on? Did you turn over your entire team in the offseason? Like, you picked up like 30 guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 people. 16 guys you picked up. Like, you can only have 21 people on your roster.
And look, Russ is a good owner too. Like,
I know.
And I talked to him during the recruitment. I have a couple, there's a group of guys that always go back and forth with me in the recruitment, like you and me do it, Jeff, but Russ is one of them. And he was like, dude, I don't know what's going on. Like everybody that I'm bidding on is getting overbid. I don't want to pay that much. And then I get, I keep getting stuck with lower guys for a price that I don't want to, so he had a rough time in the auction this year. He was getting all his players were getting price enforced, I think. Yeah. And he was just not willing to pay, over a certain amount for any guy. So I think he just kind of rolled with the punches and hopes. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, if picking up 13, 16 people or whatever it was, if 2 of them hit, you can send everybody back to the transfer portal next year and just roll with it.
Right. It was just like, man, like, it's like that's a lot of turnover there.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And I mean, if I'm being honest, like the Pac-12 only has 1, 2. Do they have anybody? No. Well, okay. Besides, they have 3 teams ranked in the top 25, and 2 of them are from the South, Air Force and Arizona State. So, I mean, and they're both 16th and 18th. So, like the Pac-12 by itself as a whole is not a very strong conference, in my opinion. So, for you, I mean, maybe it's not going to be a death sentence to the team for a couple of years for Utah, but it's
just all kind of just middling right now. They've kind of
it's not perfect
spread evenly. That's why I had a hard time ranking the best to worst because they really were all kind of very even. So I had to get super nitpicky to even pick who was the best and who was the worst. So,
yeah, I agree. So the best in the Pac-12 that I had, I'll start first, is Colorado. And I'm going to say Colorado, which it might seem like a weird thing, but if you look, right, and I had to go look at his team when I saw who he picked up, but he went Gaskins, he went Michael Carter, he went Trey Sermon, and he went Najee Harris, and then he went Marlon Mack, and he went Gaskin. He literally took 6 running backs, and the only other wide receiver he got was Amari Rodgers. That's his recruitment class. And I was very confused, and I was going to put him last. And then when you go and look at it, he doesn't have great wide receivers. I mean, he's got Marcus Brown, Claypool, Pittman, but he had 0 running backs other than Sonny Michel on his team before this. So he's doing what I did a couple years ago, and that was the year with Kamara and CMC. I literally had no running backs left after that year. Like all my running backs had graduated. I had 0 on the roster. And I literally just went batshit crazy on running backs. And the only wide receiver I picked up was Michael Thomas that year. But I got Kamara, I got Eckler, I got CMC, and I think I got another one as well. So, it's in my opinion, looking at it at first, you're like, why the fuck would he pick up 6 running backs? You can only start 2.
He was one of the few rosters I actually looked at because I asked the same question. I'm like, 6 running backs? Like, what the hell is going on?
If 3 of them hit, he can transfer one of them out, and he may get 20, especially if he redshirts one of them that hits. If you can put a redshirt running back, say he redshirts Michael Carter, and Michael Carter comes out and goes for 215 fantasy points this year, and he's a redshirt, and he's got 4 years left.
Yep.
He could easily get Michael Carter to go for $30 an upperclassman next year and get 15 extra dollars.
I'm telling you, when you have those good running backs that you're able to redshirt them, it pays off. I've still got Dalvin Cook this year, and I redshirted him, and I had Ezekiel Elliott last year that I redshirted him knowing they were the studs, and I didn't play them, but knowing the prime of their career was those year 3, 4, and 5, and it pays off in this league. It's something to really consider as you're going through the auction thought process with redshirting. It matters.
Oh yeah, and that's why I wanted to harp on Colorado because of the fact that, I mean, shit. Let's say all 4 of them hit. Who is it? It's
Sermon,
Carter, Harris, Sermon, Gaskin, who's got 2 years left. Yeah, I mean, if Harris, Sermon, and Carter are the real deal, I mean, he's got his running back class set. He doesn't have to touch running back for the next.
And he got Rodgers for $5. Amari Rodgers.
Yeah. He won't have to touch his running back class for the next 4 years. He can just focus on quarterbacks and wide receivers, and that sets him up. Let's be honest, Colorado's not ranked in the top 25. They weren't going to win anything this year anyway, right? So if you know that and you're going into it and you go, I'm going to go ahead and see which running backs hit. I'm going to just get every fucking one of them.
Yeah, and redshirt the top 4.
Yeah, he could redshirt all 4 of them.
Lost record this year.
He could just
see you next year.
Pack it in, redshirt all 4, and then you're set.
Yep.
Not only did you set up your own running back room for the next 4 years, but you put everybody else in that division back at running back.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Nobody else really got a running back in that division. You got the only other one would be Javonte Williams because ETN, and he got 6 running backs and none of them were ETN, so he avoided that debacle. Yep. So I think Colorado did a good job in my opinion. Matt, welcome. We're getting ready to start the Stars division, so it's perfect timing that you came in. Rami's. Oh.
I had a tie with you on that. I had Colorado by strategy.
Matt, you're echoing a little bit.
I had Colorado on strategy, but I also really liked. Like I said, this whole thing was super even. I had to pick a good team, so it was Colorado and Arizona State. I just thought they used their budget well compared.
I did too.
That was my only one. I just want to throw it out there for Arizona State's benefit that I thought you did a good job with your budget.
I think Arizona State. I think their recruitment class put them in got them ranked 16th in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that that when you're considering some of these teams that you kind of forget some of that when you're looking at it, how sometimes just 2 guys can put you in contention for a year.
Yep, it's true. If it's going to be 33% of your lineup and they hit, you know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. If Rami hits with Pitts, I mean, he's going to be – his team is set up. And if Pitts is the real deal, and who fucking cares? He could have spent $100.
Exactly. It would have been worth it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I see Arizona State's deal for Pitts at $23. I'm like, damn, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
somebody got him for
props. That's how cheap.
Somebody got him for 14, you know?
Just what the people want, I guess. If tight end's not really, that looked upon, that's probably why he got passed up like that on a lot of those other conferences.
Yeah. All right. So let's try to run through we're at an hour and a half, so let's try to run through these next 2 a little quicker. I don't know if we're going to, but whatever. Starting with the Stars division. I don't know if Matt's back yet. His camera's not there. Matt, you there?
Do we need to do the rankings, or are we stopping?
Well, we're going to do the 5 through 1. We'll do that last.
Perfect.
So in the Stars division, I'll start with my worst team. And if you don't have these down, something's wrong with you. But it's Marshall because he went $100 on Lawrence.
Yep.
Oh, shit.
He spent $100 on Lawrence, in my opinion. And if you look at his team, like
he needed a quarterback, that's for sure.
He did, but there's a lot of
who the fuck's Frank Darby?
I don't even know, to be honest with you. But like, here's my thing, right? You got, let's see, let's go down the list here. You got, oh shit, where are they all of them at? You got Fields went for 75 in this division.
Yeah.
So that's 75 for Fields and 100 for Lawrence, right? But Mac Jones for 14, Zach Wilson for 5,
wow,
and Trey Lance for 29. In my opinion, Marshall needed so much more than just Lawrence. I understand that he was the number 1 quarterback and everybody loves him, and he's been this guy for the last 4 years, right? Since he was on the high school thing with Hasselbeck. I get it. But in NCFF, you can't just go spending $100 because he's the best quarterback when your team has holes everywhere else.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. For him to have spent $100, that means somebody else was bidding that up.
Yes.
Right? That means someone was willing to possibly spend $99.
If he put it as his proxy at 100,
right,
and someone was price enforcing and they figured that out, they knew that once they got into the 90th range that they were just going to ride to the top. I've seen it happen in our division before, that when me and Frank had a discussion about it during the draft, that if you set proxies, people know kind of how to play that system, and they're going to start poking. And if they poke and it keeps running, they're going to poke. And I guarantee you someone was like, this guy needs a quarterback. He's got it set at 100 as his proxy, and someone was bullying him out of it.
Brahmi, I'll smoke a joint, right? And I'll sit in the bathtub at night during the auction, and I will go $14, submit, and it'll go blah. It'll give you not the error, but it'll be like Ole Miss proxy bid went up to 4. I'll go 15, submit 16. So I'll go until I'm like, all right, maybe I'm getting to its proxy now. Like maybe its proxy is 19. If I go 20, maybe. So I'll leave it for a little while. But I mean, I'll price enforce all day. And me and Jeff do it in the SEC West from the beginning to the end.
In a league that I'm in, we just did an auction for like vets and stuff like that. And it was the same thing. We did proxy bidding and stuff like that. And one guy got pissed because the deadline was, 9:00 p.m. is when it stops, kind of a thing. There is no continuation. And so at 8:55, you could just see everything just flying through. And he was getting mad because he thought someone figured out his proxy and rang, he had say like Tom Brady at like $5 or something like that. And then within the last 10 minutes, it shot him up to $25. And he was annoyed because he thought someone did that on purpose to him. And it's like, yeah, people are going to use your salary cap on you if you do a proxy.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I'll go through, and if I don't know if everybody in the league knows this, but if you go to, reports league, you can go to the auction results summary. And I'll go through and I'll look at what, like if Ole Miss has got $25 left and they got $22 bid on somebody, and they got 2 or 3 guys, I'll try to figure out how much money they're going to have left.
Yeah.
All right, maybe his proxy is this.
Right.
Matt, since you're here, I'll ask you this question. Was somebody price enforcing Lawrence in y'all's division, or did he just automatically go up to $100?
I actually came into the auction late, so right when I logged on, he was already at 100. I was trying to look through the transactions to see what was going on, because I mean you can see the bids, even if they're not the winning ones.
He was the first person off, or almost the first person at quarterback off the board. He went off on Monday, August 16th. It started on Friday. No, he was the first rookie off the board at Monday, August 16th at 10 a.m. He was off the board, the very first rookie in the entire conference.
Yeah, I mean, he just needs too many pieces, in my opinion, for him to be spending $100 on Lawrence like that. When the other quarterbacks like Zach Wilson went for $5. If it's me and I'm building my team in this league that I've been in this format forever, for 14 years now, I'm taking Zach Wilson for $5 and I'm going to go get 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers and try to build the team that way. I'll take whatever the loss between Lawrence and Zach Wilson is for $95 extra in this auction.
Yeah, Coastal Carolina price enforced them. They got into a bidding war.
Now, did Coastal Carolina get Fields?
50.
No, Buffalo. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so moving on. Well, Jeff, is Marshall your worst team, or did you have somebody else?
Yes, I had that as a note, and I also was not a huge fan of Florida Atlantic's overall.
Yeah, I didn't love it. I mean, they got Mac Jones for 12. I don't mind it. They got Elijah Moore and Rondell Moore, which I like. But again, there he is again, ETN. We've talked about him at nausea, So who knows? Maybe Florida Atlantic, maybe Russell Gage hits and he's a usable option this year. I mean, what's he ranked? 15th?
Yeah.
So
and I've got another person I've got to point out as my special notes is SMU. You only spent $71. You got Kyle Pitts for $58 and then Trey Sermon for $11 and then basically quit.
Yeah.
Like, look at how much people were blowing money on these players. 100 for like that. Marshall was out of the auction. Look at the value that's there that happens. Coastal Carolina spent 71 on Najee. And then Fresno State
75 on Fields.
So think about how much value was out there for you not to spend that money on some of those other top tier players.
Zach Wilson for $5. You could have got Zach Wilson for the 31, Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, moving on to the best, of course, Brahmi was here. He was my best, and this was not planned.
My best, Memphis. Thought they did a great job.
That's also my best in the stars. He got Wilson for 5. He got Bateman for 5 steals in both things. He also got Lance, and then he got Smith and Waddle.
Killer.
Are you an Alabama fan? What are you doing with Smith and Waddle?
Oh heck no, hate Alabama. But
Okay.
But no, I needed receivers, so and Chase was already at I think he was already at 50 at the time, and so I wanted to try and go after both Waddle and Smith and just hope I could get one. I mean, I never expected to get both, let alone them and Bateman. So I was very thrilled about that for sure.
So my question for you is, and I'm glad that you're on here, looking at your team, it's a very solid team. Could it make noise this year? Yeah, because you got Jacobs, you got Taylor. I like both of them. You got Ayuk, you got Smith and Waddle and Mike Williams. But honestly, don't take this the wrong way when I say this. Are you competing for the championship this year? Probably not. So my question is, are you going to redshirt Trey Lance? Was that your –
Yeah.
Are you just going to roll with Daniel Jones? Yeah. I mean, look, we talked about this maybe 45 minutes ago. Running quarterbacks in this format are great. Trey Lance looks like he could be the real deal. So if he comes out and you redshirt him and then you get 4 years of – even if you get 4 years of, 95% of Kyle Murray and Lamar Jackson, you're set at quarterback, especially if Zach Wilson is a Baker Mayfield type and you can just plug him in on bye weeks or play the matchups, really.
Right.
So I think I honestly think you had – I mean, we've both said it, but we both think you had the best draft out of the Stars division.
And one fun fact about the Stars division, they had 6 of the highest bids of top 25 players. They were the highest bidding amount for Trevor Lawrence, highest bidding amount for Justin Fields, highest bidding amount for Najee Harris, highest bidding amount for Terrence Marshall, highest bidding amount for Tony, highest bidding amount for Dimey Brown, it wasn't Dimey Brown, it was Carter, highest for Carter. So 6 of the top players were at their highest price in the entire NCFF in the Stars division.
And there's 8 teams in that division.
Yeah.
There's 8 of them that fight for it, not 7.
That shows you how much of that, looking at you again, Fresno, look how much was left on that board that you could have gotten for that $29 that you didn't spend.
Yeah.
Stripes
I agree.
Last year.
They had quite a few top bids.
Yeah, didn't Fresno win the division last year? Doesn't make any sense, man. I'm going to be honest with you, and me and Jeff are perfect examples of it. If you build a team and are at the top of divisions, it's the easiest thing in the world to stay at the top of your division because you can hold everybody back. If you recruit well and you get the values, it's the easiest thing in the world to stay at the top of your division. Now, you're going to battle with the same people every year. Me, Jeff, and Arkansas, and go after each other all year in the SEC West. But it's the truth. If you stay – it's hard. You have to – if you mess up, and like we said, if you keep hitting on the recruitment process, even 1 or 2 guys a year, you don't have to hit on 3, 4, 5. Even 1 guy a year, a running back or a wide receiver, you hit on them, you're going to keep yourself up in the top echelon. If you miss, you set yourself back 2 or 3 years, no matter what. There's teams that miss. If Lawrence doesn't pan out and he becomes a Sam Darnold or a Carson Wentz or something like that, I mean, Marshall, especially with Marshall's team build, he's not competing for 3, 4, 5 seasons in this league. Yeah. And that's just it's a tough pill to swallow for some people. And I'm not going after Marshall's owner. I don't, but it's just the truth. You're donating your $25 every year for the next 4 or 5 years because you recruited poorly.
Well, we made it a 7-team draft, or auction, so that certainly helps.
It did. Yeah. But again, Fresno State. I mean, you had 2 teams spend $75 and $100 on a quarterback. Why? You should have racked up. Why are you leaving money on the board?
Become a normal division at that point. You've got 2 teams eliminated. Actually, 3 teams, because you had 3 teams that spent over $75 on 1 player. You're competing
Yes.
in a normal NCFF division at that point.
Not even that. You're competing against 5 other people at that point. Marshall can't do anything, and then the other 2 don't have that much money to price enforce people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that 18 thing's got to be rough, though. I guess people think, they got to go get the guy that they want and spend the money on him. I guess I don't know.
I get it, but
I feel like the prices would be lower in those divisions, though, because there's another team. I mean, I maybe not. Maybe because there's an 8th person bid in it. It bids it up more. Who knows? What did Pitts go for in this division?
58.
58. Yeah.
Almost matched me. Almost.
It's just, I mean, maybe that's I don't know. Well, maybe that's just the thing in the 18 divisions that guys overspend. Who knows? Is that a normal?
Then again,
is that a normal thing, Matt? Is that guys go? I feel like I don't remember. Is that?
I can't really remember much of last year. I think last year a lot of the players did go for a lot. I really wasn't able to get much of anybody last year for that reason. Like I think I wound up spending about $70 on Taylor last year.
But Taylor hit, so that's a good $70 spent. You know what I mean? Like if Lawrence hits, maybe $100 isn't bad because he can build the rest of his team the next year or 2, and he'll compete in 3 seasons. But if Lawrence doesn't hit, then he's really set himself back. So
have you guys talked about SMU yet? Out of curiosity.
We have not that I believe so. No.
Only reason I bring it up because I see $29 left in bidding that they could have done.
Talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Because they had 58. They spent 58 on Pitts and got Sermon for 11, and then Dokes for 2.
So wait, there was 2 teams that had $25
No, that's what
or
I'm
more.
talking about was SMU. They're the ones. Who
It's not Fresno State
with like $29 and never spent.
Yeah. Fresno left $13 on the board.
It wasn't Fresno. It was SMU.
Yeah, SMU with $29 on the board. And, looking at their roster, all right, you got Mahomes, you got Herbert. So they're good in the quarterback spot. But running backs, you better hope Sermon hits at that for $11. In my opinion. I mean, he's got Darrell Henderson, but whatever. And J.K. Dobbins, maybe. But, that doesn't look good. That's a lot of money wasted or not used in a sense.
But still, that's even more reason when 2 of the quarterbacks go for 75 and 100, and you don't need a quarterback. You should be racking up. You should be racking up values. Like
it's crazy just looking at that. And then you have Fresno was 13 left on the board. Hawaii left $12 on the board. Yeah,
the leaving money on the board thing baffles me. I mean, I have $7 left on the board, but I got like 4 guys at $0 in the last 2 days. You know what I mean? Like nobody pushed the money up. So, all right, well, moving on. I'll start with the stripes since Jeff went somewhere. And y'all can chime in. But the worst, in my opinion, in the stripes division was UCF. I mean, he spent 31 on Pitts and he spent 31 on Elijah Moore, and then he didn't do anything else. So, I mean, I don't know exactly what he was doing or what he was thinking. If you're going to spend most of your money on 2 people, we're talking about the stripes division now. And I said my worst team was UCF because they only got Moore and Pitts and they didn't get anybody else.
Yeah.
And, I kind of want to run through these a little bit quicker. Now. We're almost, an hour and 45 minutes. But yeah, I mean, that in my opinion, to get Moore and Pitts and Elijah Moore at that, which he may be a good wide receiver, but for those 2 guys to be the only 2 guys you come out of the auction with, not ideal. Who was your worst in the stripes there, Jeff?
I picked Northern Illinois. No. Yes, I picked Northern Illinois. ETN. And then they spent a ton on Gaskin, a ton on Collins, and
Florida's owner Ash is telling me that UCF was one of the owners that somebody had to fill in for late. So maybe that's why his auction wasn't that great. But still, I mean, the 2 guys you got weren't ideal. And if you're going to come back as the owner and you miss the beginning of the recruitment period, that's on you. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, Northern Illinois. ETN, Nico Collins for 17 when people were getting Nico Collins for free. Terrence Marshall for 28 was one of the higher ones, and then Gaskin for 14 probably was the highest Gaskin win as well, I think. So,
Yeah, that was the highest price paid in the league for Nico.
And then for the best in that division, I took Rice. I think they
Really?
did. Yeah, I think with Michael Carter and St. Brown, he picked up Lawrence. And so then he got Carter for 18. Lawrence he went 52 on. St. Brown he went 22 when people were getting for 0. But he got Jacoby Myers for 0. He got Noah Fant for 0. Those are 2 guys he could plug in. Marcus Callaway he could plug in. He also got for 0. Darrell Williams, if Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes down, you got the number 1 running back in Kansas City. He got that for 0. So, and he got Ellinger for 5, which isn't ideal. But if Wentz gets hurt, which we all know, that's almost like it's death taxes, and Carson Wentz gets an injury at some point in time during the season.
Isn't he injured now?
He's injured now.
Yeah, isn't the whole gimmick they've been saying is where's Foles? How come Foles hasn't been traded over yet?
Yeah. God, Carson Wentz probably hates Nick Foles. Who was your best team, Jeff, in the stretch, and then we'll move on to the SEC? Ohio.
I thought they did a solid job with their budget. Trey Lance, Devonta Smith, and Jalen Waddle. I thought they did a good job there.
Yeah, it's a solid core. I mean, it's the same core Matt got.
They just did a very basic, in my opinion, a kind of tried and true NCFF method. Get top players at the position and ride them. Take 3 of them. 3 of them in a year is a solid auction class no matter what.
Yep.
Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3, and those years come and go. But it's a solid foundational building year.
And I'm not as high on Smith and Waddle as everybody else, but I see the potential. I mean, obviously, Devontae Smith grew up down here in New Orleans, him and Jamar Chase, and so I watched both of them during high school. We go to a lot of high school games. Jamar Chase went to the high school that I went to, so I would watch him and stuff. So it was, I have a special place for both of them, and I think they're both great athletes, and I think they're both going to be good. I just wasn't going to spend the money that they were asking for in the SC West, but I think they both have very good chances. And Waddle is with Tua, who was his college quarterback. So I mean, they already have so I understand why people were going after those guys. So yeah, I agree. Just like with Memphis getting those 3 as well, I think he did a fairly good job. So moving on before we get to the top 5, we'll start with the SEC East, and probably not going to be the same team as you, Jeff, but I went with Georgia.
Okay.
Because all he really got was Chase. He got Chase and he got Elijah Moore. Now, Georgia did show up late. I know that. All the SEC East teams were pissed when he actually did show up finally.
Came in and Price enforced the shit out of it.
Oh, yeah. He came in like almost 18, 20 hours late and started Price enforcing everybody. Yeah, they were pissed about it. So, yeah, but other than Chase and Moore, I don't think he really did anything to help himself, especially not spending 53 on Chase and 25 on Moore, and then he didn't get anybody else that's going to help him. And and I know, like we've talked about, you got to be able to stay at the top of the division, especially when it's not like other years where that SC East is going to be weak. Those teams are coming up. So he's going to have some competition, I think. Who's your worst in the East?
I picked South Carolina.
Yeah, I didn't love it either.
I didn't love it.
Which is weird because those are the 2 best teams for the last 3 years in that division, and
we
both picked them as
$29 on Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I mean,
there's 4 or 5 first-round draft pick quarterbacks in this draft, and you spend $29 on Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
And they
does
got
not make any sense
on top of it, so it's like this recurring theme of.
Hey, better for us. Let's just get through the West, and then whoever we play in the championship game is going to be money.
On South Carolina, just looking at it real quick, like he needed a quarterback, and so I guess maybe that's why he went so much in that transfer portal, maybe, and spent so much on Hurts because he had Gardner, who's not going to probably see any playing time, and then he had to pick up a couple of rookies, but maybe that's why he went so hard on Hurts.
Yeah, but at the same time, like if you look at it, like Fields only went for 30. So you could have got Fields for 30 for $1 more,
Right.
Mac Jones, who he also got Mac Jones, so he got 19. In my opinion, I would have rather went 30 and 19 for Fields and Jones, and he probably would have been one of the top picks for the best team auction, but because it's Hurts and not Fields,
Right.
And look, Trey Lance went for 43, which is pretty high, and Zach Wilson went for 25. So I mean, 29 for Hurts is
could have paid $6 more and gotten Lawrence.
Yeah. So I agree. I mean, Georgia and South Carolina, the two best teams in the last couple of years in that division, have always fought for that title in the SC East. Or we both picked as the worst auctions, which is, I guess, that says good about all the other owners in the SC East. They're coming up. For the best, my best in the SC East, I took Mizzou. I thought he had the best. He also got Waddle. He got St. Brown. He got Najee, and then he got Mooney, and then he got Cephas, which Cephas, I mean, nobody really is going after him, but he got him for $1, and who knows what's going to be going on in that offense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He could be the poor man's Cooper Kupp for Jared Goff, and that team is going to be absolute dog shit, and they're going to be throwing the ball. Goff's going to throw the ball 700 times probably.
Yeah.
So I thought Mizzou did the best thing. I do have one thing is that Vandy got Pitts for $16. So
Trash.
if he hits, great. It's not going to help him in week 4. He's still going to fucking lose to me. He's going to be 0-5 for 5, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to help him beat me in week. So, and then he just goes into the gutter and his season goes down the drain. So, but who was your best team in the East? And then we'll get to the best division Did you?
I did.
No, you just kiss ass. You just don't want Joe to give you shit.
No. I thought they built their roster well. Trevor Lawrence for 36, Trey Sermon for 24, Kyle Pitts for 16, Collins for 11. I thought it was a well-built, well-rounded auction.
I agree. We have 8 people watching now. I think everybody's waiting for the top 5. I agree, though. I mean, Lawrence, Sermon, and Pitts is if Pitts hits and Lawrence hits, it's
Yeah.
But we could say that about anybody. If the people that get hits,
beat you. That's
not going to happen. So that needs to be a miracle. Like, his team just takes absolute dog shits when they play me. So moving on, we saved the best for the last. It's the SEC West. It's our conference. The best conference in the best owners, in my opinion. Everybody says it that we have the best owners. We have the longest tenured owners, I think, collectively.
we have
I think
three founding members, right?
3 founding members are in the SEC West, and then the other 4 owners I think have all been in here within at least 4 or 5 seasons. How long have you been in?
Me?
Yeah,
Since the beginning.
I know, but what was the beginning of NCFF? Because it was 2013, I think NCFF started.
We drafted
something like that.
2013, 2012.
Yeah, what was it? Luck and RG3's rookie season,
Yes,
wasn't it?
That's
Yeah,
what it was. That's right.
So, but yeah, so I mean, we got 3 founding members, and the other 4 owners have been in the league 5 years or more. So now the best team that I thought was Arkansas. I think they did the best. They got Carter and they got Fields. They got Mooney, who Mooney could be nice, and he got Mooney to match up with Fields. He got Bateman, and then he got J-Rob. So I mean, the same thing with what we were talking about before with J-Rob. It looks like a great pick now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't really like that I'm saying Arkansas got the best recruitment class because he's the 3rd member of the trio that fight for this shit every year.
Yep.
But I mean, I can't knock him, for the team. Like, he got 4 solid guys, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then he got James Robinson on top of it for $0.
This is cherry on the top.
And that was before the injury. He won him Friday at 2:44 p.m. was when the auction ended. So like, it wasn't like we were all knew that ETM was out for the year and we just let him have him for $0 because it wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so who was your best? Who did you take?
I actually took Mississippi State. I thought Mississippi State did a great job. I really like them getting Smith, Williams, Wilson, and Frymuth for free at a tight end slot. He could be a touchdown guy. He could be just a touchdown machine, not getting yards, but be solid for a plug and play on bye weeks, and that's very helpful. That's the only good thing about tight ends in this league is if they're catching and you need them to fill in on a bye week. And I liked how he built his. It was similar to Arkansas. They were my top two. I just gave the nod to him because I really like Williams and Devonta for that price paired with Wilson. I just thought it was a pretty good job.
Yeah, and I take that back. I'm looking when I pulled this team up. Seth's actually been coached since 2019, so he hasn't been in 5 years, but still, the last 2 years that he's been in the recruitment plus this year, he's always seemed like he knows what he's doing. He fits in perfect with us. But for the worst team, I picked Auburn. No, I'm just kidding. I took A&M. I thought A&M had the worst. They came out with Pitts, and they spent a good amount on Pitts, not as much as Brahmi, but they spent 44 on Pitts. And then the only other shit they got was he got Waddle for 36, and then he got Tony for 16. So Pitts, Tony, and Waddle, I mean, in this format is not ideal, especially not when you're trying to come up and compete with you and me in Arkansas.
Well, I mean, looking at the lineup, I mean, the running backs, he's only got maybe a year left in that area. So he should have probably gone after one of the top running backs.
I agree. Well, he tried to, but he definitely tried to. He tried to get Sermon from me, and he tried to get Carter from Arkansas. But he just didn't have he was blowing his wad too much. He didn't have enough money left to outbid us when he got to a certain price. And then he was getting stuck. Like, he got stuck with Waddle and he got stuck with Pitts, and then all his money was gone, and he couldn't enforce. Like I think I had at one point like $88 left, and there was like 12 players off the board.
Yeah.
So I was price enforcing all the running backs.
Right.
Which I didn't have any needs this year, and I was going into it knowing I didn't have any needs, so I was just going after the values. So I didn't really push anything in the beginning. I was just upping all the quarterbacks. Like, the first two people I put on there were Lawrence and Lawrence and Zach Wilson I put on there because I didn't want either one of them. So I was just getting them out. That was my strategy. Get those two, get prices out the way. Who was your worst, Jeff?
I had a tie.
If you say LSU, I'm kicking you out of this fucking podcast. I'm just letting you know that now.
No, I thought Ole Miss was a giant fucking turd.
Yes, 100%. I agree with you on that one. He was my second worst besides Texas A&M.
Just spending
he got
on Chase.
He got stuck with Chase because I had Chase at $60. I had Chase with $60, and that was my proxy bid with 14 minutes left, and he tried to bid him up, and he got stuck with him because as soon as he put it, it was 12 or 13 minutes, and when I got the email that he had outbid me, I said, he's fucking stuck with him. I don't want him.
Yeah.
I said, I'll take that $61 and I'll go get something else.
Yep.
You're not going to price enforce. I mean, I set my proxy at 60, and he went, and I even told you. I think I said,
I texted you and said, I'm not going any more than Chase, and
nope,
he was gone.
As soon as I said it, I said he's got 15 minutes left, and if somebody outbids me, they can have him. And then, sure enough, 3 or 4 minutes later, Ole Miss outbid me for him. So, but yeah, I agree. I think 61 for Chase is a little too much.
And then he got BTN, and now he's got nothing.
Yep, he's got Zip. So. So that is. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I had him tied with Alabama because I was not impressed with Alabama's either.
No, not at all. But Alabama showed up. He said he was dealing with some stuff with driving and stuff. I mean, he got Lance and Mac Jones, which isn't horrible. And he got Terrence Marshall. But I mean, he has other needs on his team, in my opinion. He needed one of the running backs, definitely.
Yeah. And I'm more,
if not two of the running backs.
I'm more cognizant of the needs of the people in our division by looking and knowing our rosters pretty much up and down across all the teams. And I just thought he didn't do a good job of filling needs.
No, not at all. He definitely needed running backs this year to be able to compete, and he didn't go after and get any of them. So he went and got 2 quarterbacks instead. So, I mean, that's on him. But we are to the top 5 now. We are here. Anybody that's watching, let me put in the Slack real quick. We'll talk a couple minutes and we'll give everybody a chance. Reveal the top five. So while we're waiting on that, I'll ask Matt, how long you been in NCFF now?
This is my second year. I was in FCS for a year before
And
this.
Brahmi, this is your
First year in NCFF, and I had 1 year last year in FCS.
So I would like to, what is y'all's opinion on the league itself? Like the format?
Like, for me, this is very, very different. I have a league that's a college-style league, and I remember when we started up around the same time frame, 2014, when I guess as the NCFF did its thing, I had actually talked to Ross a couple of times just because what are you guys doing a little bit different? And I was looking at, I've been wanting to get in this league for probably the last 3 or 4 years and just never did it. And because I was taking over the league that I'm running now, and it's very, very extensive on the off-season stuff and some things during the in-season way we do things. And so I just didn't want to pull the trigger. COVID happened last year. A couple leagues I was in didn't do anything. It's like, all right, I'll pull the trigger and jumped in on FCS. And it's interesting because, as you guys have been saying, if you don't hit on these rookies, you're done. It's going to be too difficult to play in this league for a year or two. So I really think this is a interesting format, and I like the format because you've got to hit, and if you don't, you're kind of just sitting back. It is odd not having, say, a Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Now Kamara's gone, and those are the people who you're watching every year in regular football and in your other fantasy leagues. So it is weird not having those really well-known stars that you're constantly watching and you're rooting for in your fantasy leagues. So that is different, but it's very, very interesting and very strategic to play this league. And I do like it. And everyone, since I've been in it, even last year, I've recommended people in. I think there's like 2 or 3 people who are in my league that joined in the FCS to join into that one to get a feel for it. So I like it. It's very different and it's very interesting, and I enjoy it.
What about you, Matt?
I mean, it's repeating a lot of stuff he said too. It's a different format. Since they don't have, they haven't made a college football game in, since 2014 or 2013. It's kind of it's pretty much been the closest thing to it. Except they've been, kind of making mods for that. But, it's pretty cool, the whole recruiting aspect. At first, I wasn't crazy about the idea of only being able to get, players that had been, in the league for 5 or less years. But, it adds a different dynamic to it, like especially with quarterbacks, you're going to have a lot of top quarterbacks leaving this year. I think Mahomes, I don't know who graduates this year. Mahomes, is he one?
Mahomes, Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, yeah.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson's a year away, so he's next year.
Yeah. Baker's I think Baker's a year away.
Mm-hmm.
Which he's not a top quarterback, but any quarterback that's playing, that's starting, and you can play in this league is valuable. You know what I mean? Well, good. I'm glad both of y'all enjoy the league. I mean, look.
I was going to throw out some stuff that whenever I joined the league, I had just started getting into dynasty football leagues a couple of years before that, and had my home league that I converted and got all my buddies from high school and college to come in, the one that I commish, and introduced them to dynasty. And I had played in a couple of other ones, and some have come and gone, some I've been a part of, but this one's been one of the staples of the ones that's always been there for me. And it's been one of these interesting building blocks for the rest of my fantasy football knowledge, as I was maybe not as paying attention to much about the rookies and stuff, unless you're in like a hardcore, like developmental league where you're like paying attention to, like, the college guys and they come in, but this allows you to, like, I don't even have to research doing a normal dynasty league draft because of this league. I know I'm very knowledgeable of, the top 25 to 50 players because I know I'm going to have to be looking at them to pick them up in this league. And it's just a natural advantage to my other fantasy leagues that are dynasty, which is a cool aspect. Like you were talking about, like, it's not, you're seeing all these players that are not as exciting because you're basically seeing half of them before they're stars. Because by the time they hit their prime, they've graduated, or their last year is their prime, like, coming out party, and it's a neat thing to see because, you've got traditional fantasy and this, two different sides of the same coin. And it helps increase your fantasy football knowledge and your overall knowledge of players. And it's very powerful in that regard.
And I'll tell you what,
simple.
It's very simple, but recent years it's been easier because recent years you've had more, Odell, Jarvis Landry's, your AJ Browns, your DK Metcalf's, like the younger wide receivers are hidden earlier. Your Michael Thomas's, they're all hidden earlier.
Yes.
When we first started this format in 2008, it was rough. You hear me? It was rough trying to build a team. I mean, because guys weren't hidden the first, rookie wide receivers were taking 2 or 3 years to break out. The running backs weren't doing very well. So It was rough in the very beginning. Plus, when we first started the league, it was on an Excel spreadsheet was the recruitment process. It was a disaster. I can tell you that much. It's way better now. But let's, we'll get to the top 5 and then we'll wrap it up. So starting with ranked 5th to start the season, it's my week 1 opponent, and it's going to be the Big 12 South, and it's Coach Jacob of Oklahoma State, who has 2 playoff appearances in his career in the NCFF. And so he gets the 5th ranked seed to start the season. I'll spoil a little bit, but it is a top 5 matchup week 1 between me and him. So that's good. I love that part. But I think, Oklahoma State has about 10 minutes. All right. The wife wants to know how much longer. So, but yeah, Oklahoma State, I mean, solid team every year. He's always in the playoffs. He's always winning that division. He's always in the championship game of the Big 12. So, I mean, he's a staple, always in NCFF for the last 4 or 5 years. So, good for him. Jeff, if you want to go with number 4.
Yeah, with number 4, we have from the SEC West, Coach Frank from LSU. With the
I'll take
4th place.
So number 4 versus number 5 right off the gate in week 1, huh?
Yeah, and then the 6th seed was Georgia Tech, who I play in week 2.
I play them week 1.
Do you?
Yep.
Look, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell both of y'all this now because y'all were kind enough to come on. My advice is to, in your non-conference scheduling, is to schedule teams that you think are going to be very, very good. Because even if you lose to them, it helps. And if you beat them, it really helps. Like if I beat Oklahoma State and I beat Georgia Tech and I start the year 2-0, it almost guarantees, even if I lose to Jeff in the regular season, and it almost guarantees me an at-large bid because both of them are going to win 9 or 10 games, and it gives you the NCFF points. So everybody's like, "Ooh, let me schedule cupcakes and go 5-0." Well, if you go 5-0 and you beat teams that only win 2 games, and then you slip up some point and lose 2 games, you automatically. So anybody that's watching this or is going to watch this, you have to try to schedule teams that you think are going to be able to give you 6, 7, 8 NCF points at the end of the year if you beat them.
Like that's
but it
honestly.
Also,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say when this thought process of the scheduling, that's exactly what I did. I said, you know what? Georgia Tech won it last year. They, and obviously they're ranked 6th going into the season. Let's go after them. Virginia, who were highly ranked, I think, last year. I don't know if they fell in the rankings at all for the start of this year.
Number 4.
Okay, so went after them. Florida Gators went after them. Oklahoma Sooners went after them. And then I took the top team, I thought, in the other side of the Pac-12 with the USC.
First of all, Florida's not good, so let's just move on from that aspect. That'll be the cakewalk game for you.
But week 3, right? The third Saturday in September, you always go after them. It's I think a Tennessee and Florida thing. So
Yeah.
so that was my strategy was. Is you know what? I'm just gonna go after some of the top people and just let it go. If I lose, I lose. But I went after people.
And Matt,
for that reason.
It's extremely important for you because even if you win N16, you're not guaranteed that at large. You're not guaranteed that playoff. So it's extremely huge for you scheduling wise. So starting off at third, coming in ranked third in the preseason poll from the ACC Coastal is going to be Coach Mark and the Virginia Cavaliers. He's got 2 playoff appearances under his belt. I'm gonna be honest. The year that I made the playoffs, the 1 year that I made the playoffs, I got to pick. I think I was the 2 seed, and I avoided Virginia when I got to choose my opponent in that first week because I do not want to play him. I think his team is very nasty. It has been for a couple seasons. I mean, he was in the playoffs in 19 and I think 20. So back-to-back playoff appearances for him. So he's ranked third. So kudos to Coach Mark and Virginia. And I believe that Jeff doesn't think he had the greatest recruitment this year, so that might hinder him, but he's still ranked third preseason poll. So, Jeff, you want to go with 2?
Yep. For second, we've got from the Pac-12 North, Oregon State, Coach Brahmy.
Not bad. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Not bad.
What you think about taking the second preseason ranking?
Well, it's pressure. Honestly, I think only because I talk so much shit. So
you don't talk as much as I do. So.
No, I'm not doing anything near to what you're doing. But I don't want to overstep your toes either on the shit talking. I don't want to get into that war.
Yes, there's only one king shit talker in this league, and it's me.
It's probably Wes. But it's humbling a little bit actually too, because it's my first year in this league, right? I took over a team and I took what I thought was the best team and built it what I could. And being number 2 is going to be interesting. It's going to be a fight because I'm already facing, Virginia in week 2, who's third. Georgia Tech is 6th. So I've already got a pretty strong.
But like I said, if you come out 2-0, you don't even need to win the Pac-12. You don't even need to win the Pac-12 North.
I'd rather just win it all.
Right, but I'm saying you can make the playoff if you beat those 2 teams at the beginning of the year. You can still make the at-large bid if you go 11-1 or 12-1 and whatever.
Well, pending that they actually perform too, because if they don't win, then it doesn't matter.
Right.
Them 2-0, but I mean, you're hoping that they are the strong teams, and they still will get 6, 7, 8 wins.
That's why when Lewis goes, hey, do you want to schedule a non-conference game? I go, no, I actually want to schedule somebody that's going to have some wins at the end of the year. So I already have one bum that I got to play on the 4th week every season. So I don't need 2 of them,
There you go.
But to round this podcast off, which we've had a great time, I think, is the number 1 ranked team in the preseason out of the SEC West. And it's our compadre here, Mr. Jeff. He was voted number 1 in the preseason poll, which doesn't mean shit.
No.
He's still gonna have to.
All of our rankings of people's drafting is complete.
But he's coming off an undefeated season until he lost in the championship game by 0.1.
Yeah.
Not 1.1. 1 yard. Not even. Yeah. Pretty much.
It was 1 yard
lost by.
sports correction or stat correction.
Because y'all were tied originally, correct?
Tied for a week.
I remember seeing something in Slack about that. Didn't that also happen in the championship game? Georgia Tech didn't some sort of like scoring correction or something actually have Georgia Tech win?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what happened. It took till like the following Tuesday after the games were over or something like that, and it stat corrected Chris Carson down 1 less yard, and it took me under him.
That's brutal.
And that also play your studs. I should have started Ezekiel Elliott even though he was hurt all fucking year. And of course, the 1 week he blows up for like 21 points, I didn't start him, and that would have been the championship. Ride your studs. Auction, draft your studs. Ride your studs.
There you go.
So before we sign off, I want to say that the top 25 to me is very even. There's not like when you look at it, I mean, there's 5 SEC teams. There's 3 Pac-12 teams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Big Ten teams. There's 5 Big 12 teams. So I mean, the top 25 is very even this year for preseason, and it's usually not like that. Usually there's a lot of the top guys, and it's kind of spread out a little bit more. But I think it's gonna be a good season. I appreciate you two coming on. I appreciate Rec coming on. Jeff, I appreciate you being here for 2.5 hours with me. If either of y'all ever want to come on, when we're doing the recap's going to be quicker. Obviously, we're just going to recap the major games for the week and stuff. Maybe 30, 45-minute pods. But y'all are more than welcome to always come on. Jeff, we've constantly had for the last hour and a half 6 to 10 people. We had 12 at one point watching. So that's good that members of the league are watching. And maybe the more we do this, and the more people we can get on and as guests, and so hopefully it'll take off and be a hit. But I appreciate y'all stopping by.
I'm sure we'll stream it afterwards too if they weren't available.
They'll fast forward till they get to their conference and stuff like that. So, but I appreciate everybody.
And one of the things I worry about, because I do something sort of like this for my league, I do a recap weekly, and I'm always wondering, is anybody actually watching this? Because I can see how many viewed the post, but whether they actually watched it is a whole other thing.
Right.
So it's always like, but I do it either way because I enjoy it. Like even if 2 people watched it, I don't care because I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so. I've fully. Everybody knows I've fully been invested in this league for a while. So for us to, I don't know why it took me this long to make the podcast, but it has. But I think it'd be a good aspect to this league, especially with all the owners that we have, because you can always have a different guest on.
Right. You have 100 owners overall between the 2 different leagues. So
yeah, me and Jeff could go each week and pick a game of the week and have those 2 owners come on and just talk shit to each other for 5-10 minutes. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate everybody that stopped by. Anybody that's still watching, appreciate you staying strong with us for the 2 hours. Matt, Brahmi, appreciate y'all. I've said it 6 times now, but
thanks for having me over here.
Yeah,
no problem, man. Good, both of y'all. Like I said, y'all both were my best picks for y'all's division. So I hope y'all have success this year, unless you have to face me, and then y'all both can kick rocks.
There you go.
Jeff, I'll see you, and I'll see your bitch ass team in whatever week we play.
I never beat you again.
Yeah, well, what are we? I think we're split. 3-3? I think it is.
I think it is.
Or it may be 2 for you, because I had those 2 years where the team was absolute dog shit. So, but like I said, I appreciate everybody, and I hope everybody has a good night.
You too. Catch you later.
Good night, all.
All right, brother. I appreciate you.
I'll see you. It was great.
Later. Yes,
Bye.
sir.